Hello, hello. Broadcasting from the crossroads of America in the heart of the great Midwest. I'm Jimmy Mitchell, and this is Into the Night. From the haunted plains to the eerie small towns, we delve into the mysterious and the unexplained. Join in as we separate fact from fiction, debunking the myths while encouraging the exploration of genuine paranormal phenomena. This is your gateway to discerning the real from the unreal, unraveling spine-chilling stories and investigating baffling phenomena. Together, we will journey into the shadows, seeking the truth and uncovering the extraordinary beyond the veil of our everyday reality. Tonight, I am honored to have a truly extraordinary guest with us. He's an award-winning documentarian whose meticulous and innovative approach to paranormal investigations is sure to set new standards in the field. As the former lead investigator of Paranormal Extreme Crew and a founding member of the Paranormal Research Unit, he has dedicated his career to uncovering the mysteries of the unknown with unparalleled integrity and precision. Not only does he lead groundbreaking investigations, but he also shares his entire journey with his audience on his YouTube channel, Devil's Hour Productions, where you'll find riveting case files, live streams of his editing process, and a behind-the-scenes look at his newest, soon-to-be-released documentary, Evil Unearthed. His previous work includes the acclaimed documentary, The Harrisville Haunting, filmed at the legendary Conjuring House in Rhode Island, alongside a few notable figures such as Joe Vitale and Kenny Biddle. Currently serving as a rifleman in the United States Marine Corps, he brings a unique blend of discipline, courage, and analytical skills to his work. He's also a collector of dark and intriguing oddities. I know that recently he has purchased a human skull, a real human skull, ladies and gentlemen. He's a talented photographer, and he is a master of sound design, bringing gripping atmosphere to his work. He is known for his unwavering commitment to authenticity, never shying away from debunking his own evidence, and always striving for accuracy in his own research, even if it means cutting ties with anyone who has been caught staging evidence. You can also find him speaking at the upcoming Warren's Paracon in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, September 27th through the 29th, where he will reveal the trailer as well as exclusive insights to his newest documentary. Everyone, please welcome a fearless and innovative leader in paranormal investigation, Matt Benton.
Oh my gosh, that was some intro.
Hey. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. I never knew I was a master sound designer.
Yeah, dude. I love your sound design and your B-roll, dude. It's just good. It's so good. You do a great job. Let's see here. Who do we have in the chat? We have Brian Reinhardt, Candy7, Cheryl King, and Steph Cuervo Queen. We've also got Booberry329. We got some lurkers hanging out in here. I know the stream went on a little bit later. Who else? And we got Sydney Perez showing up here. Stream was a little bit later tonight than what we planned on, but hey, things happen. So one thing that I would like to ask of the chat is to save all your questions for later. I will be interviewing Matt for the next 2 hours or so. And then we'll spend our last hour taking questions and call-ins. You can choose to either put your question in the chat, or you can choose to come onto the stage of the live stream and ask your question live. Once it's time to take call-ins, a link for access to the stage will be pinned at the top. We're going to do it that way, and hopefully it doesn't shoot myself in the foot, but I think we'll be okay. Usually here are pretty cool. When that happens, you'll enter the stage, but you'll be placed into a queue until I bring you on to ask your question. And we'll take a short break before it's time to do that as well. So, Matt, I've been watching your stuff for a little bit now. I recently learned about you, I think, it's been a couple of months ago, but I had seen the Harrisville Haunting, and I noticed straight away that it wasn't a typical paranormal ghost hunting show, which was really refreshing to see. And I started noticing that you went about debunking things, and you weren't just convinced immediately that something was a ghost like all these YouTube shows go. And it got me interested in where this all came from. Where did you initially become interested in paranormal activity and doing this kind of research?
Well, let me just say this. Hello, everyone in the chat. Sorry I didn't get to say that. And also, yeah, so basically when it started for me, I had personal experiences as a child, like like shadow people. I used to see them all the time as a little kid. So, and I also heard my name being called, some voices and stuff like that, and footsteps and stuff like that. It's just not as, I would say, I never been interactive with it, like never asked them questions or anything. So I wasn't into the investigating scene until I went to the Old Washoe Club in Virginia City, Nevada. I heard about this haunted building known as the Old Washoe Club. I was like, oh, cool. So it grabbed my interest, and I was like, I went inside the crypt and I heard some of the stories of some little girl spirit being there. I said, if there's a little girl here, can you please move something or make some kind of noise? And then literally 5 seconds after that, a piece of brick is thrown. And that's what got me hooked. I was like, holy shit, you can actually get responses back. Am I allowed to cuss? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so I was like, you can actually get responses back. So I was like, okay, that got me hooked. And literally since then I've been investigating. So that's like about 13 years I've been investigating, almost 14 years now.
Okay.
And I even got a tattoo representing my origin story, the Old Washoe Club and the Shadow People, where it all started for me.
That's cool. I like it when tattoos actually mean something.
All my tattoos mean something to me.
Yeah, I like the oracle or the
planchette.
Planchette. There you go. That's super cool too.
Yeah, I like it too. This one represents my wife. We have kind of matching tattoos, except I've always wanted a skull on me because I love skulls.
Yeah.
Hint, hint.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this is an excuse to get a skull on it. So I got Alana's initials, and then she has my initials.
So what else? I mean, like, anything else happened to you at the Washoe Club other than, I mean, a brick getting thrown is kind of, I mean, as far as what I've seen in paranormal activity, that stuff like that doesn't happen too often. So that right off the bat is pretty amazing. And kind of hints that maybe it's a bit more active than other places. So did anything else happen that was kind of, memorable like that?
You want to know something funny though? Even though I'm not 100% to this day now, since I'm more analytical and everything than I was in 2011, because that's when I started. It could have been a brick that fell off the wall. Okay. But it still got me into it, so it still has a meaning to me. And I've had other experiences at the Old Washoe Club later down the line, because I went back multiple times. I think I've investigated the Old Washoe Club 4 times, and so 3 or 4 times. And so I've had other experiences there, paranormal experiences there. But still, even if it was a natural something happening, it still got me into it. So it still had meaning to me. But basically, yes, the piece of brick might have been thrown, don't know 100%, or it could have been natural, just a brick fell off the wall, because the wall is made out of brick. So it's one of those two things. It's up to your guys' decision. I don't even know either. So it was very direct after a question, though. If you could please move something or make some kind of noise, then bam, it happened. So it's still interesting. And anyway, so yeah, evidence-wise, I would say I heard the clearest footsteps in my life at the Old Washoe Club. And all the 13 years I've been doing this, I literally, like, it was just Dante and I, because this is when I was a part of Soul Seekers. So I was a part of 3 different paranormal teams. First, I created my own, which you mentioned, the cringe one, Paranormal Extreme Crew, which was the first one I created. I was just a teenager, and I just invited my friends to be a part of my team and everything. They're just more in it for the thrill. I was in it because I was actually passionate about the paranormal. And so realizing that, I joined up with Soul Seekers because I found someone that was in it like I was in the paranormal for the same reasons as me, like was really passionate about it and everything. So I was like, okay. So I joined the Soul Seekers for about 2 or 3 years. And so during that time I was with Dante. And so we were downstairs about to get ready to investigate. We were setting our equipment up. And then sure enough, heard the clearest, loudest footsteps I've ever heard in my entire life right above us. And I was like, we thought someone broke in. And it sounded like we heard boots. It sounded like boots. And it was so clear that we were able to differentiate what kind of shoes that were being that it was. And it sounded like boots. And so we're like, okay, we think someone broke in. So we run out. There's only one way out, by the way, and during this time period. So we ran out to go up into the Old Washoe Club. Dante was like yelling that you're not allowed to be in here, and he's a security guard as his profession. And so he was like basically just yelling and like that the person has to leave and everything. Sure enough, no one was there inside the Old Washoe Club. So that was like in my opinion, that was my favorite experience at the Old Washoe Club, mainly because could not debunk that. And it was definitely footsteps for sure. The brick I could possibly debunk. It's not 100%. I would say it's a 50-50 if it's paranormal or not. I don't know. But that was paranormal. We could not explain that one. That was weird.
Yeah, boots definitely have a very distinct sound, don't they?
Yes, they do. But it sounded like old cowboy boots.
Yeah. Like. Yeah, I've heard some pretty interesting EVPs from there. People capturing what sound to be boots walking or people whistling, stuff like that. Very interesting place. Now this is early in, so at that point would you consider that was at that point like you were just kind of like, was it a hobby and then you kind of merged into
most of my life it was a hobby.
Okay.
Because it's only a job when you start getting paid, and so that is more recent. So literally, I'm not even kidding you, 2023 is when it became a job for me. So, and I could almost live off of it finally. So, and that has to do only with the documentary. It's actually not the paranormal that technically is the job, it's the filmmaking that's the job, because obviously you're putting a product out and they're buying it, and so that's how you're making money. You're not making money from the paranormal itself, you're making money for the film. And yes, people are watching it for the paranormal, so I guess you can argue it that way, but it's definitely that is now my job as a filmmaker. And I'm very happy to say that, because I'm not kidding you, I've been working up to this point where I've always wanted this as my job. That's all I ever wanted. I don't really care about the fame or anything. Yes, fame helps. I'm not saying I'm famous, by the way. I'm just saying that fame helps, of course, to make it more of your job. But that's all I cared about, was it to be my job. And that's it. And so, because who wouldn't want to do what they love as their job?
Right.
And so that's why I've been trying to promote myself as a director and a paranormal investigator. And also, I would say, hopefully in a more unique way. Like you mentioned, I'm glad you see that when it comes to the style of how I do my editing. And that, as a filmmaker, means a lot to me, because it took me a long time to work to my own style, because for a long time I kind of grabbed influences from other people, and you create your own thing. And it's nothing, I would say most of my stuff wasn't like anything unique until more recent years. I finally got my own style going.
Yeah, which is, I think that's when it comes naturally like that. I mean, it takes time for it to come naturally. It's not like it's just all of a sudden, all at once. You can just start pumping out. I mean, some people can, but I think the longer you do it, obviously, the better you get at it. And the journey from where you were when you started to where you're at now, can you kind of tell us like how that's been for you, that particular like transition?
So here's the thing, like what's an interesting part of my life is like I could barely remember a time when I wasn't a paranormal investigator, because I was going through the beginning of high school is when I started paranormal investigating. And so I was made fun of it like for all my jobs and school. I was always known as the ghost hunter. That's what they called me. Ghost hunter or Ghostbuster, the two main ones they call me. And so my whole life I've been a paranormal investigator, it feels like. It's at one point I'm going to be able to say most of my life I've been a paranormal investigator. and we're getting close. And so it was very amazing moment for me when it came to finding a passion. I feel like I have a purpose, to be honest. When I do this, I feel like I have a purpose. And this life gave me purpose, because I've always been fascinated in certain things. Science. My two favorite subjects in school was science and history. And I loved watching the making of films. Mm-hmm. So literally all my passions, like outside the paranormal, it's like my life led up to this moment, because I had those three passions. I was into science, I was into history, and I was always watching the making of films and everything. You know, with DVDs, you get to watch the making and everything before they released them on YouTube everywhere. Right. And so I was always watching that stuff. And then one day, and I've had these personal experiences as a child and everything with the shadow people and all that. So it wasn't until the Old Washoe Club. It's kind of like the Old Washoe Club, in a way, birthed the creation of me. So it's like everything that led up to it, and then now here we are now. It's interesting because it almost feels like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's fate.
Fate, right?
Yeah. It feels like fate for me.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up to a degree, because you're saying that all these things that you were already interested in history and science, and those are definitely good things to have in your arsenal of critical thinking, which it seems to me that most paranormal investigators anymore, at least the ones that are on YouTube, don't know what critical thinking is, or it's a lost art. But yeah, so from there, and I mean, obviously you had plenty of investigations in between the Washoe Club and then the Harrisville Haunting, which is the Conjuring House.
Yes.
And this is obviously, so it's your first real, film, real documentary, definitely your most notable work. Can you describe what your first impression was when you got to that house?
Yeah, actually, I remember when I first got into the house, I felt a heaviness there. And this is when, also I want to keep this in mind, people, is that this is before it was highly investigated, because we got there like right when it opened up to the public. So when it came to going onto these into this place, automatically I got that pressure feeling on my chest. So I was like, okay, this place definitely has maybe something paranormal. When you do this long enough, you can just sometimes tell when a location is haunted just based off the energy the place gives. And that's one of those places I felt that heaviness on my chest. I didn't really feel demonic or anything like a lot of people are saying, but I did feel that heaviness feeling, and I was like, okay, this is weird. And then you get used to it. Your body gets used to it after you're in the building for a while. Kind of like if let's say, kind of like equalizing pressure in the water, basically. Like your body's going to get used to it, and then it goes away. Or like a smell, for example. Like go into a building, it smells bad, and then you're in the building for like an hour, the smell kind of dissipates a little bit because you're in there for a while. That's your body just equalizing, basically. And so that's what it's like for that location too. I'm in there for a while, then it kind of goes away a bit, and then sometimes you get some heights of feelings again. And so definitely that was a crazy location, and actually that investigation changed the way of my thinking when it comes to future paranormal investigations, is because of my personal experience that had happened at the end of the film. So I went from way too scientific minded to becoming more spiritual in a way because of that personal experience. And I could not explain it. And I had equipment backing up my experience, and also Andrea Perron's story that backed up exactly what I was saying at the house. And that interview took place like a week or two after that happened. So I did not know about that story with Cindy Perron. And it's exactly the exact same thing I felt. I said it on location, and it actually happened to someone, Cindy Perron, before in the past, and I did not know that. So,
Wow. Yeah, one thing that a lot of paranormal investigators will talk about is that heaviness that you brought up. And I grew up in a house that seemed to have things going on. And I think the atmosphere in that home was something that I just, like you said, you get used to it. You know, it's like that, like a smell. You go to a friend's house and their house smells a certain way, and after you've been there for a while, if you're staying the night or whatever, that smell goes away. You just kind of get used to it. And I remember when I went to Kent Burris's home in Maine, when I got there, it felt like I was at home, which you know, to me, I guess when people think of that or they say it as a heaviness, I don't feel so much like heavy, but there is like a, I guess you could explain it as a weight. And it is really interesting, and it's not something that, you know, for people who haven't experienced that can either always take seriously, but to really comprehend what that means until you've encountered it. So I find that really interesting that you bring it up, because a lot of people, you know, like I said, have when it comes to, you know, I went to this house and it just has this ominous feeling, and yeah, I find that really interesting that everybody says kind of the same thing.
yeah.
So let me ask you, what were some of, you kind of talked just briefly about it. What were some of the more compelling or surprising discoveries you made during that investigation?
For when it came to the Conjuring House?
Yeah.
I would say that personal experience is probably the main one, because we debunked the chair thing. So, because since that was debunked, that was originally the best piece of evidence we had, but now it's the best piece of evidence, I would say, which I can't, you know, say for sure it's real or not because I didn't capture the footage, which is the other footage that was captured on the DVR cameras and all that, which is very interesting. So I wasn't there to debunk any of it or see if anyone's faking any of it. So, but those things I think were very interesting. That's in the film, that was captured by the Heisen family and John Huntington. And so those ones are, I think, are the best evidence in the film. For me personally, though, I guess the personal experience that happened and the equipment backing up my experience is probably the most profound in that investigation since we debunked the chair.
Right. So, as I mentioned, you worked with Joe Vitale and Kenny Biddle. They both came out, right? Yeah.
Kenny Biddle didn't come out, but he did for Joe, actually. But for the film, no, he didn't come out. But we did interview him.
Okay. Working with people like that, how did it influence your documentary? How did working with Joe and Kenny help the outcome of the product?
Well, Joe helped with the cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
That was about it, to be honest. for how the outcome it would be, because the documentary, the editing part is completely in my own vision.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes to the editing and everything, I just do it to what I feel like is right for the storyline. So he was helping with the history, but we didn't use any of it.
Mm-hmm.
So Kenny Biddle helped a little bit because he provided a couple of photos for the Bathsheba Sherman thing. So basically that was about it, like, because everything else was already in the interviews, and I was able to use the interviews when it came to the history stuff. So it wasn't this film, Evil Unearthed, I would say Joe's done more for that one when it comes to the history, because we're actually using it in the film. The Harrisville Haunting, we didn't do that much that was actually used for the film, because it was already all explained in the interviews. And but I did have to look for certain photos, like thanks to Kenny Biddle for the the obituary photo, and I think I found the rest, to be honest, when it came to like the building stuff, the old look of the building and everything from way back then. I think it was a drawing, I think it was, or a very old photo. Okay. So
can you give me a little I mean, we've all heard of the Conjuring House, especially since the films, you know, then they came out, and they definitely did, they took liberties, took away from, you know, as Hollywood does. They take this person away or insert this character and make things more interesting, or they'll take two characters and cut it down into one particular person, stuff like that. What was, if you can give me an accurate rundown or an accurate history of the home, you know, what happened on the land there, allegedly, or truthfully, whichever. I mean, you did the research. What happened on the land there, and then, you know, the events of the people who had lived there and stuff like that. Can you give us a rundown of that stuff?
So yes, the parents. Sorry, first there was the Arnolds in the house that lived during that time period. There wasn't really any confirmed deaths except for one that died in a shed. And that was nearby the property from being drunk, and it was very cold. I think he died by hypothermia. And so that was like the only confirmed death that we could find. But I think the most interesting history is the war that took place right in that same area. I can't 100% say on that property itself, but it was happening in that part of the country, which is the Phillips King War. And so that was a big thing happening in that area. And so, and it's interesting because there's actually a lot of experiences of Native American stuff happening in the woods there, which does make sense. So there's a Narragansett and Wampanoag tribes that was in that area and that were fighting, and plus the colonists too. So I would say that this haunt is more to do with a possible my brain's gone blank on the name. My brain. It's basically an entity. It's a Native American belief of. God damn it!
Like
my brain.
You're not talking poltergeist. You're not talking.
It's kind of a poltergeist there, but it's not that. It's the.
I'm trying to help you out.
It's like it's an entity of the land, basically.
Oh, okay. Sort of like an elemental kind of thing, or
elemental. That's the one. Elemental. My brain was just going blank on me right there. So yeah, elemental haunting is what Joe and I believe it is. Okay. And then possibly some Native Americans also in the area. And so that's more of my belief on that one. I don't believe it's demonic personally. Like a lot of, maybe during the time Carolyn Perrin was there, possibly was. But demonic haunts are usually involving a person, not the buildings themselves, unless rituals are done in the buildings. So that's what I think happened probably during that time period. It was more attachment towards her that was possibly demonic, based off of how brutal some of the attacks were. And something that was also mentioned to me off camera by Andrea and Perrin, that was pretty messed up. So I can't really talk about that one, but it was very it had demonic vibes. So but I don't think there's something demonic there now. I think it was a haunt on the family from mainly Carolyn Perrin.
That's interesting.
I could tell you offline.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm interested to hear it. Well, I guess, you know, everyone's hearing about this documentary. We've been talking about it for a little bit. I want to go ahead and share a bit. I'm going to share your trailer for the documentary with everybody watching. And when we come back, I'll have some more questions for you there. So here we go.
The house that inspired the horror movie cleared to investigate after coming here?
We've had a few teams leave in the middle of the night.
What the fuck?
We just caught an amazing piece of evidence right here.
It's moving! It's moving!
I've never had that ever in my whole entire life.
Outstanding, sir. Sorry. Oops. Yeah.
Whoops, I forgot I was muted. To me, I can make it better now.
Well,
to me,
sure.
It's
Sure,
cringe to me because I feel like it was a little too intense for the footage, personally. So I would change it now, but yeah, I don't know. It's just
we are our own worst enemy when it comes to what you're talking about there. You know, when you get better, which I will say, what I've seen that you've been doing, you have taken leaps and bounds in your production. But the sound design, even that whole trailer right there, I mean, you put all of that together, all the sound, everything, you know, and that is not easy, you know, and when you're learning and, you know, you're growing and all this, I think it's a perfect trailer for that documentary. And that's just a personal opinion. That's somebody who's not involved in any way. It's specifically a consumer's point of view, which I guess is kind of what you want.
Yeah, my next documentary is that trailer is way better in my opinion.
Right. Now we do have somebody in the comments that's being quite skeptical, which we always encourage that.
Well, actually, yeah, and I agree that this assumes if Andrea was being honest. That's a valid statement. So we don't know for sure.
Absolutely, but it's important that, you know, again, that trailer doesn't really. I guess it doesn't appropriately portray the debunking and the critical thought and the logical thought that goes into that investigation. But based on that trilogy, were there any moments? One guy said something there at the beginning, and it kind of sparked my interest about this. Were there any moments during that investigation that genuinely frightened you or members of your team?
This stuff doesn't frighten me. The little bit of fears I had was gone after I did Man vs. Paranormal. So I was shooting another documentary called Man vs. Paranormal back in the day. This is before I actually scrapped the film because I didn't feel like I had enough camera angles to keep it entertaining, because this is before I had the equipment I have now. I only had like three or four cameras, and that's it. And so I was like, okay, I felt like I needed that full-on DVR system throughout the entire buildings and stuff like that to keep it entertaining. So I scrapped it, but I was stuck in 3 different buildings by myself for 3 days. And so the first time I did it, I was a little scared because I was psyching myself out, because I was like thinking about like, what if I get injured, pushed off something or whatever, and no one can help me. And so that was basically what I was thinking originally. And then I would say, to the last investigation at the House of Wills, I completely got like, it became normal to me. And so that's when all of my fears of the paranormal stopped right there. Okay. And so I haven't had any fears for a long time, and it kind of sucks, to be honest, because I kind of miss the fear. I think my dopamine levels, I've kind of pushed it too far. That's why I'm handcuffing myself into buildings with a gas mask, with nothing without being able to see and everything, just so I could get a little bit extra feels.
Right. And I did describe you as fearless and innovative when I brought you on. So I was just curious. I think it's a reasonable question. If anything, at least okay. If it didn't scare you, was there anybody else that seemed frightened, or was there anything that just was like, what is going on? Like, a moment of strong confusion, or Eric?
Eric's the one that I would say is a little bit more on edge when it comes to these things. He's also very energetic, and so I would say that would be the one that would get those feelings sometimes. But for me personally, no. And I see all the comments in here saying hello, Matt, hello everyone. I just don't want to. I'm just trying to stick to the interviews.
Right. Yeah. And I did see Central Maine Ghost Hunters, which I believe is Dustin Marsha, the leader of that group. He said he had the first ever wedding at the Conjuring House back in 2021. He got married there.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
We investigated that house in, I believe it was 2020, the first time, and then we went back in 2021, if I remember correctly. But it was really cool. Being in the beginnings, so before it was overly investigated, because now it's a YouTube fucking hotspot now.
Right.
And it was a cool experience before it got overly investigated, because now I feel like evidence is probably not going to be as crazy anymore. I feel like that happens with all the big locations like Waverly Hills and stuff like that. I feel like if it's over investigated, sometimes activity drops, just because if I was a ghost and was getting the exact same questions every single night almost, I would probably get tired of it too. So I don't blame
absolutely. You'd just be like, I'm leaving. Screw this. I want to go somewhere where I can just rest.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Did you have more to add to that?
Sorry.
Okay. While you were filming, can you tell me about some challenges that you faced and like how you got past those?
I would say there's more challenges for post production. Filming on location, I guess time is probably the worst enemy when it comes to filming. So it wasn't. That's why we went back for more B-roll, because I felt like I needed more B-roll for the film. So we went back, and also I wanted to try and debunk a couple things. And so we did the B-roll stuff, we did the extra debunking, and then came back and I started editing the film some more. But for post-production, whole other story. Oh my gosh, that was a nightmare. It was like that film wasn't meant to be made. So in post, we were having rendering issues. So I was trying to render it on on Joe's computer, my computer. It was not rendering. It was having issues to stop at like 45% or whatever, at the 45% mark. So I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. And so then I started, okay, you know what? I'm going to start rendering in parts and then combine them. So that's what I did. I started rendering in parts, combined them, and then it still wasn't rendering, even though it was just one video clip. And then it wasn't until I finally figured out what was the issue. The bit rate was apparently too high for the computer to handle. And so I lowered the bit rate, and then it finally rendered. It was just ridiculous. It was also, we were having this a premiere at the Conjuring House. We set up this big event there, sold all the tickets. We have like 40 tickets to sell. We hired a what do you call it? We hired I heard a voice. That was weird. Oh, I think my window's open over there. That's why. Like, so we hired a theater area. So basically it's a blow up theater and a whole bunch of chairs and surround sound speakers and stuff like that. It's very cool, actually. Watching that is the closest experience I've ever gotten to having a theater for that documentary. So it was really cool hearing that. And so basically when I had to render the film, there's one little small thing off of it. That was actually the director's cut, by the way. There's like 5 extra minutes to that film. So the director's cut version is one that we premiered. There's one small editing error, but we didn't have time to re-render. So I was like, okay, that's going to be the one we have to use. The only thing that was off was the voice on Andrea Perring towards the end of the film was like not lining up with the mouth. So after fixing all that, you guys got the final version, and I had to cut out some certain things because of legal reasons with the Conjuring film. That's why that's the director's cut that never officially released and everything. So you guys got the other version. Actually, I think it's better, this version, because the cool editing that I did with the After Effects and the sound design, I thought was kind of cooler, actually. And it's quicker, it gets it across quicker and everything, so it was good. Yeah, I would say in post-production is where we had most of the issues, and hopefully not the same thing happens to this film. But I do have a way better computer now, way better setup now. All thanks to the success of the film, was able to afford all this, and plus production value is increasing because I now have a $13,000 cinema camera that helps with the B-roll.
Right.
Film now, so it has way higher quality boost when it comes to production. So
Right. Yeah. I I wish I would have known about something like that back then. Like that you were doing all this. That would have been really cool to go to excuse me. It would have been cool. Blah. It would have been cool to go to the Conjuring House to watch this documentary. That would have been really memorable, I think. So it's like you said, the closest thing to it, a theater showing, and sitting with all these people, some you know, most you don't, and watching their response to your film. How did that feel? Like, were you right? Yeah, what are the, like, you're hoping that when these scenes come up that they'll get what you're putting across. Are you seeing from their reactions? Were you satisfied with that?
There's two sequences in the film, in the beginning of the film, that gets people every time. There's the door sequence that slams shut with John Huntington. The thing I did with Bathsheba Sherman's face, where she's like looking and then it just looks straight at the camera. That was an animation. It's the actual photo, a historical photo, but it was an animation that I found somewhere on the internet that can animate faces for old photos and stuff. And I was like, ooh, I want to use that to my advantage for a creep factor. And then I did. That gets people. And then also because of the loud sound effect I used for when the car gets pushed, a lot of people jumped at that sequence. So yeah, seeing those little small reactions was fun for me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that happened that still puzzles you? Anything that happened during that investigation that still is something that kind of lives rent free in your mind? Or you're like, I don't know how this happened, or you know what I'm saying? Is there anything like that?
I would say it's more of the other investigations than this one, to be honest. Mainly my personal experience, but that's not really evidence. It's, I guess the equipment that backed it up a little bit is kind of, but it's not definitive evidence, and that's what I really go for when it comes to my films. So, or when it comes to my stuff, I want definitive, and so I actually like some other stuff I've captured more than what I've captured in The Conjuring. Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, tell me about that then. Tell me something that same question, just for any location, I guess.
Okay. Lassen County Hospital. We got a piece of debris that flipped over on its own on the ground. That was really cool. All caught on camera.
Right.
That was the only poltergeist case I've ever done in my entire 13 years of doing this. I would definitively call it a poltergeist. And the reason why I call it poltergeist is I'm not kidding you. Things are being thrown and moved every fucking 30, 40 minutes. Something was being thrown or moved. That's insane. In the paranormal, that's insane.
Right.
I have never in my entire life had that much activity in one night. And it was getting to the point to where I was like, is this debris falling or something? There can't be this. Then we went to a building literally right next to it. Didn't get anything until we went back there. And then I was even questioning it at one point. I questioned it at one point in the same episode. And then I was like, there's a hole in the wall. I mean, in the ceiling over there. Maybe that's where it fell or something like that. And then I'm like, can you less than 1 minute? I think it was about 1 minute later, a rock hits the wooden. There's a plank of wood on the window. It's an abandoned hospital. There's this wood at the window, and I'm not even kidding you. A piece of a rock or debris hit that piece of wood. That's when I knew that isn't something falling from the ceiling. That was just thrown. And
Right.
So I was like, okay. And that everyone was in view. There's only 2 other investigators with me, and everyone was in view when it happened. So I was like, yep, I don't know what this is. That's fucking insane. So that's when I was like, okay, that's the craziest investigation I've ever done when it comes to things physical. There's another really cool investigation back in 2012. I was at the Vitale Historical Society, and this is my first like EVP that I got to hear live. So I had headphones plugged into a voice recorder, walked into this room by myself, and then I hear a clear ass whisper into my voice recorder. And that was my first time hearing an EVP live, or DVP. I don't know 100% because I didn't have anything else backing it up, and no one else heard it, only me. And it was clear. I mean, sorry, when I say clear, it was very loud, but I couldn't understand what it was saying.
Gotcha.
And so that's in my old episodes of Paranormal Extreme Crew. But yeah, that was my first time. So that one I can't really explain. It was very strange for me.
Right. Yeah. When you're talking about the piece of debris flipping over on the floor, I had seen that before, and recently when we were hanging out on one of your lives, you showed it to me, and I was like, oh yes, I remember seeing this. And you guys didn't see it or notice it in real time; you just heard it, right?
Yeah, we just heard it because it was all in IR. There's a camera down the hallway. Hopefully you're doing okay.
I just got this tickle in my throat and it won't go away.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
There was a camera down the hallway with an IR, bright IR shining down the hallway. Then we had our IRs on our cameras. We didn't see shit. We only heard things down the hallway happening. Like it sounded like things being like literally someone walking through debris or moving debris is what it sounded like. And then all of a sudden on camera, a piece of debris flips over on its own. Never knew I even caught it because it was caught on my camera. And then just walked. We just like kept on investigating. We're like, what was that? And that's it. And then we just kept investigating. We didn't see it at the time.
My coughing is now passed on to you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. All of a sudden, just a little bit ago, I just started getting this tickle, and I'm like, all right, let's get rid of that. I just couldn't get rid of it. I'm just going to take a drink here, and it's probably not going to help, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay. Candy says take a drink.
Yeah, I'm going to
Hello
obey.
there, Eddie. I saw Eddie in the chat earlier. I just didn't.
I apologize for that. Sorry.
Hello, 5 of you. Hello, 25 of you.
Yeah, that piece of footage, like you said, you weren't able to see it in real time, and it wasn't until, I mean, nobody noticed it in the viewfinder either, right? Because when you're looking through a viewfinder, it's so small. Yeah,
And it was also very small in the video itself too, because
right.
I had to zoom in and everything to show everyone. But yeah, it was definitely something that flipped over that piece of debris, and there's nothing there. It was like, that was so cool.
Yeah.
And then a little bit later, a cabinet started moving on its own, and that cabinet door, I turned around really quick, like I almost captured initiate. That's how quick I turned around. And so the weird thing about that, there's 2 cabinet doors open and only one of them moved. So if it was the wind, you would think that both of them would be moving. So it was just very strange. I'm not kidding you. That was my first poltergeist case. And that's actually, I almost quit the paranormal before that. I'm not kidding you. It wasn't until that investigation that revived it for me because of how active and crazy that place was. Because I was starting to get no activity, like almost every place I went to, and I was starting to lose interest. So I was like, okay, I was like, this is starting to get boring because of how many over and over and over and over again of getting really nothing. And then all of a sudden I'd get that poltergeist case, and I was like, that revived it for me again. So
Right. And now, again, you're somebody who's just critical thinking. You're not somebody that's just gonna, it's ghosts, right?
yeah.
when you're dealing with stuff like this, how do you ensure the credibility and accuracy of what you're collecting?
Well, the more controlled environment, the better. And so that's why I don't like investigating hotels that are still running. Like, cool, Queen Mary's awesome and everything, amazing historical location, but not the best for investigating because of that reason. Same with Cosmopolitan. There's still people walking around, stuff like that. So I don't recommend, if you want a legitimate investigation, don't recommend places that are still being very active. I recommend very isolated locations and a bit more controlled. And like the ones that are in the middle of nowhere are the best ones, because then if you just hear a voice in the room, you're like, okay, that's definitely not outside because there's no one around us, most likely. But there's other ways you can validate these things. You can put recorders on the outside, line up your media code, your media code data is proper, and then for when it comes to dates, your dates and your time, and then you could cross-check your findings with outside noises or inside noises. And so there's ways to do it to where you can, I guess, control your investigation more. Yeah, less amount of people, the better sometimes. But I'm investigating, the more I'm starting to understand personalities and psychology is more involved with the paranormal than I originally thought. I don't think it's only just the spirits now. I think if I bring individual types, certain individual types, I notice I get more activity with them than I do with Joe and I, because Joe and I have no fear of this stuff. So every single time when it's just Joe and I, very calm-minded, being analytical and everything, nothing happens when it's just Joe and I, every time. And so when I started bringing Eric or other people that get a little hyped up or scared or something like that, I get more activity. It's very strange. And I find there is some kind of psychological thing happening, I believe, in these investigations that somehow manifest more with certain individual types. And it makes sense because when I first started, I was getting a lot more activity, but I was also a lot more hyped up and like excited about these things. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just jaded and been seen and done that for so long that the excitement's a little bit lower. It's still cool with like the Poltergeist case. I was excited for that. Sure. But it just gets a little bit lower, a little bit less. It's harder to impress. So it's like, getting a little bit too scientific minded to where I'm critically, analytically looking at everything too much, I feel like. And so that's why I'm trying to step a little bit backwards, because I was going, so there's the spectrum of skeptic and believer. I was going, so I used to be, okay, let's put a line right in the middle. This is the middle. I'm trying to get in the shot. Okay. Okay, this is the believer side. This is the skeptic side. I was in the beginning probably here. Then gotcha. I started investigating for many, many years, and I started getting closer to here. So I was still I was still a believer, but I was getting way too skeptical about everything. And so I realized I need to be more in the middle. And so I started going a little bit more. So ever since the Harrisville Haunting, I've been a lot more spiritual than I used to be in 2018, 19, when I was starting to become way too skeptical. And so I went back to that mindset again. I feel like I get more evidence, and also if you could connect more to the locations more. And so there's another side of the paranormal that is spiritual, and there's not going to be any good evidence behind that. It's just something that you as an investigator, you just have to use your experience of what you know and use it to your advantage.
And developing skills for debunking and all this stuff. Let me ask you, I mean, for me, I think I just want to make sure that what I'm putting out is something that I truly believe is paranormal, and not just because someone told me it was or whatever in the moment. Like, there has to be, I immediately go with Occam's razor. the most logical explanation is probably the explanation, right? Which is summarized version. But for you, debunking things that are not, that could, you know, just debunking things in general, as far as, okay, we experienced this. Where did you like develop that from? Where did that come from? That amount of integrity, where'd that come from?
Oh, the integrity. Oh, I've been like that since I was young. Like I am, when I decided to become an investigator, I was 100%. That's not going to fault for me, because I'm very big about the truth. And I think, I don't know if that's just like that side of me that I've always been like that. I don't like liars. I don't like, I feel like you're scamming your viewers if you start fake, like some of the YouTubers out there that are faking things and they're getting money from your viewers, like Patreons or donations and all that. I feel like you're scamming your viewers because you're saying you're a real investigator and then you're faking evidence and everything. That, to me, that's a scam. And I'm very against that. And on top of that, being a true documentary filmmaker, you have to be about the truth.
Sure.
You need to represent yourself. It doesn't matter what point of view. You need to be as non-biased as possible and show the truth from both points of views. And so that's my goal. I think in a way, when I show evidence, I try and think in a way of what a skeptic would think most of the time. I say most of the time because I can't really convince anything when it comes to spirit boxes or anything. Because that's, I would agree, is not evidence. So it's not definitive evidence because you cannot cross-check and prove that it's being manipulated between frequencies. That is going to be a lot harder. It's more of a belief system when it comes to spirit boxes. But there are methods when it comes to EVPs, when it comes to cameras and all that, of trying to find a natural explanation for some things. And if you can't, you just can't explain it. Okay, that's just weird for mainly the visual stuff. And then I have setups for known as the RVPR setup, which I could count these investigators on my hand of these people that exist that use this setup. Justin Brown, myself, Paul Browning, David Roundtree. That's it. That's
right.
Like only people I know personally that use the method I use when it comes to the paranormal. And it's called the RVPR setup. So basically you can use a 4-channel recorder connected to a Rode shotgun mic, but the Rode shotgun mic is more susceptible to EMF. And then you have a Matchek 95 sensor. Most people in paranormal don't even use a Matchek 95 sensor. It's a scientific piece of equipment that records the audio of EMF frequencies. And so you have this all going into one device, one SD card, recording simultaneously at the same time. Well, that's what that simultaneously means. But but so it's recording at the same time, and you're collecting this data, the same media code data also. And basically, if you capture an EVP, let's say through the Rode shotgun mic and not the stereo mic, and it has to be Class A too. It can't be something from the distance because a Rode shotgun mic is a directional mic.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to keep that in mind. So I'm talking about like, hello, like it has to be clear.
Right.
And if you capture that in your Rode shotgun mic, but not your stereo mic, you're validating audio manipulation. There's ways to validate EVP audio manipulation. And this setup is the perfect way. Matchek 95 sensor is going to collect the data of EMF if EMF is involved when EVPs are captured. You're collecting all data onto one setup. And so that's one way people can start trying to cross-check EVP phenomena, but most people don't do it. And so then visual stuff, just learn cameras. Cameras are a very big thing and the problem in the paranormal field when it comes to lack of knowledge in cameras, because there's so many photos out there that I'm seeing that is just slow shutter speed, dust orbs, or what was another one? So yeah, slow shutter, dust orbs, or my brain's going blank. Moisture and stuff like that. Oh yeah, and fog, like breath. Someone
Right.
smoking or just regular breath, and it's like, see this mist?
Yeah.
Especially flash in flash photography, for example. Like when you take a flash photo, obviously things are going to look different in the moment. So it's going to capture your breath easier. It's going to capture your dust easier. Dust is just out of, it's just, orbs are just out of focus dust 99.5% of the time.
Right.
And so I have seen orbs with my own eyes before. So I know they're out there. It's just that it's, especially cameras, don't use photo cameras, by the way. Like, use video camera for one thing. And it has to illuminate its own light in a way where you see it with your own eyes, in my opinion, when it comes to real orbs. Or maybe put reflections on the other things with its light. Illumination. Basically, you can tell if something's illuminating if basically there's less pixels in your footage or less grain. There's some illumination going on. And I guess that kind of goes for when it comes to dust orbs too, because of your IR light. So it's very weird situation you're putting yourself in when it comes to the dust stuff. I mean, so orb stuff, I should say.
Right.
So I just don't trust most of them. So just don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
Unless you see it with your own eyes, then that's different.
Right. Real quick, I wanted to thank Stormy After Dark for subscribing. I appreciate that. And Jaya, thank you for the gift of membership to Candy7. Candy, you know the drill. You know what you get with that. You get access to members-only perks like chat emojis, and there's a couple of extra videos that y'all have access to, and you can take place and participate in members-only posts. So thank you again for that gifted membership. You are an absolute legend. Yeah, one thing about my buddy Luke, the guy that I did my documentary with, he has a series called Ghost Tapes. And I always tease the shit out of him and call it Dust Tapes because he's definitely... I will say, though, after going to Kent's house, I think I'm a little bit more on the fence when it comes to orbs. Before, I was just like, nah, it's dust. It's got to be dust. But I did capture something that I found to be kind of interesting as far as an orb goes. But yeah, I'm like you. It's one of those things that just, I find it very underwhelming, and it's old. You know, it's just one of those things. I mean, it could literally be anything. Dust moves up to the camera in such a way, and light might hit it from here. It's just, there's just so many variables there. It's never. And same thing with when it comes to the spirit box. I know people who swear by the spirit box. Anything that comes out of the spirit box, so that's paranormal, and it's just no.
So here's the thing about the spirit box. So I went to full skeptical mode and was like, I'm not using them anymore. But back in my Soul Seeker days, I've gotten some of the weirdest responses I've ever gotten with the spirit box. And so that's why I'm still like, I still have a soft spot for it, because I've gotten some crazy responses, and not just a word.
Same.
I'm talking about sentences.
Yeah.
And so that was just exactly, and it's like right after the thing. Here's the big difference about apps and that. I hate apps, and here's the reason why. I have never had an app be accurate over and over and over and over again. It's like hits once and then it doesn't hit again for a long time. And then that's what I call just, the regular fucking coincidence thing. But when it comes to a spirit box, I've had responses that was over and over and over, just being accurate over and over and over again. Even Estes methods for the Monroe House and the Evil Unearthed film, you're going to see that, where it's just crazy accurate. I'm not even hearing a word Eric is saying the entire time. So I do like the Estes method, because you're getting rid of the whole, let me listen for that answer situation, or for pareidolia, for example. So you're getting rid of that less likely pareidolia, I should say. It's still going to happen. A pareidolia can happen still. But it's more, you're not looking for it, the specific things you're asking about. Right. So I find that way more interesting when it's the Estes method. And so So I've had good things with the spirit boxes. That's why I'm still up in the air about it. I think it's possible, and it's because I'm going to make a top 5 or top 10 video of my best spirit box responses. Because I'm not kidding you. Back in Soul Seeker days, I captured one that we're talking about the War of 1812 and this musket that they had there at the Steam Ferry Berkeley. And I was we were talking about the gun, and there's like Dante is like, whose gun is this? And it says, don't need gun. Literally right after he said that on the spirit box, clear as day. And then another time was, what did you do with the gun? Is what Dante says. And then it said, killed people.
Wow.
I was like,
wow.
It was right after, not even waiting for a while. It just happened right after he asked. And I was like, yeah, these are the situations where it made me start believing. And then another thing, my last name is not as common as like Matt is. So one other thing that happened was at the Rialto Historical Society, he was pointing at me and asking, who's that down there? Basically, I was a little bit farther away from Dante. He was at the piano and I was at the area where everyone sits at in this church area. And so, and then he was pointing, he's like, who is he? Can you tell me his name? And then clear as day, Benton. And so I've had the craziest responses with the spirit box back in the day. I don't think it's the some people believe it's the static and stuff like that. I don't believe that. It's not the white noise or anything like that. It's the frequencies, in my opinion. It's because if that was the case, then you could just pump regular white noise and try and get voices, which is not the case. I never had anything from just regular white noise, but I have had things with spirit boxes and have nothing with the apps. So when I say nothing, I mean apps have to be dead on multiple times in a row for it to be not coincidence. It can't. If it just hits every once in a while, then it's just a coincidence to me. And the spirit boxes have proved to me that it's not just coincidence sometimes.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because you were talking about this thing was referencing the gun and all that. And see, I'm the same way when it comes to the spirit box. I don't, I don't put a lot of faith into it. But at the same time, I've had some really interesting things come through. And one thing in particular that I really kind of argue for is I'm in Kent's house and we're doing this spirit box session, and he starts talking to somebody named Bob. Bob, have you been here before? Have I heard from you before? And all this. And he says, Bob, do you remember how you were killed? Something like that. And I heard the spirit box say he used a gun. Okay. Now, I'm the one that said it. He said he used a gun. And then Kent goes, that's right, he used a gun. You were shot 3 times, right? And then he's like, you don't know who I was talking about. I was like, no, I had no idea. Well, in the moment, I'm obviously super skeptical of him. And it wasn't until I went back in post when I was watching that, and I'm like, is he just taking liberties to kind of use what I'm saying and all this? Well, it turns out that there was, so I did some research, if there was anybody named Bob that was shot 3 times around Newport, Maine. And it did happen. There was this guy, Robert McKinley, I think his name was. Anyway, Bob, he worked a night shift at a gas station, and this guy came in and shot him 3 times. I had no idea about that story whatsoever, but I know, and even when I listen to it back now, I hear it said he used a gun. And it's like that. And here's
the thing, because if you just use that spirit box at like your home, for example, not haunted location, like for mine, it's not. Well, sometimes things happen, but it's not. I don't have much activity, and I won't get anything from the spirit box. It's all just radio stations, and most locations I go to, all I get is radio stations. And then you hit those right places that are actually really active, then I get the craziest interactions. And I'm like Mackey Mansion, Monroe House, perfect examples. Those two are like 2 of the most haunted places I've been to. And I get the craziest responses. I go somewhere else, nothing, just radio stations all day. And so you can tell a difference when things are starting to get, okay, this is weird. because it starts to be extremely accurate with the responses over and over and over again. And that's why I believe in the spirit boxes. I've had those cases to where it kept being accurate.
Right.
And that's when it's passing coincidence for me.
Yeah.
And so I like I said, I could show you that top 5 I have, or top 10.
Yeah.
And it could change people's minds, I feel
Right.
like, about the spirit box. Because it's not like something like, is it that? It's not like one of those ones I'm talking about. I'm talking about clear as day.
Crystal
like,
clear.
Crystal clear.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
Yeah, that's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
And like, one of my followers here, Teshi, was helping me debunk a section of my documentary with the Ovilus, right? Or what we figured, because you're talking about apps, what we figured out is that the Ovilus is just a standalone app. It's its own thing. It's its own device, but it's literally just an app. It can be updated. There's firmware for it, updates and stuff like that.
I don't like them either because also I never get it accurate all the time either. Same issue. So too many false positives, more than any. Like same with the apps. That's just all false positives. And it's just all coincidence with the Ovilus and the apps. It's always coincidence,
Right?
Because I never get it over and over again accurate. I'm looking for consistency and evidence. If you're not giving it, if the device is not giving it to me, then I know it's not true communication. It's just going to be coincidence after coincidence every once in a while. Like it happens. Like, oh, I got one. 2 hours later, oh, I got another one. Yeah. So like, I need to like, oh, just answer the question. Okay, ask another question. Answered it again. Okay, ask another question. Answered it again. And then it was like, okay, now it's getting weird.
Yeah.
Like you're getting you're like, oh, what's your name? And then you get a name. Oh, what did you do with this gun? It killed people.
Right.
So it's like it's dead on accuracy, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's what I've gotten with sometimes spirit boxes, and I say sometimes because sometimes you just go to these places that are dead. You don't get anything except for radio, and so, but those cases that are really haunted, you sometimes get some stuff like Crow Judas. Like talks trash about the spirit box and everything.
Right, sure.
You've never been to a haunted place with it. Obviously, you're just going to get radio stations. I get the same thing when I don't go to a very active location, or like there's some tier lists of active locations I've been to: Monroe House, Mackey Mansion. I don't know how the Conjuring is now, but for my experience, it's Conjuring House, and those are like the locations where you're like, okay, now you're most likely going to get maybe something. And Mackey Mansion is still my favorite place I've been to when it comes to regularly, because I've only been to Laskin County Hospital once. So I could have had like the best night ever, or it could have been, in my theory, the Poltergeist case being involved with this person I was with.
Right.
I believe that one of the people I was with was the Poltergeist case, not the location itself.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to count Laskin County Hospital because I need to go back there without that person to prove that, you know, it was actually the location and not just that person. Gotcha. And so Mackey Mansion is my number one. It's insane. I've been there 4 times. 3 times someone's been scratched.
Where is Mackey Mansion again?
Virginia City, Nevada.
Okay.
3 times someone's been scratched when I've been there. I've been there 4 times, 3 out of 4. That's insane. Those odds, insane.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, my first time being there, I had crazy responses on the SB7. I was like, this is strange. The Mackey Mansion episode, it's a very old one. Some things I say is cringe and everything. It was 2014, but I have had really good responses to the SB7 there. I was like, what was like? I heard like a voice that said the devil, and I was like, what was that? And then the voice said go in a very creepy way. I was like, this is not a radio station, dude. It was like a creepy ass voice said go, and then I was like, did you say the devil? And then it says can you say that again? And it says the devil again. I was like, what the fuck? And
Wow.
So I was like, and I don't believe it's demonic there.
Sure.
I believe it's just playing with you.
Yeah.
That one. But it was like so weirdly accurate. And then there was like another one where I was on the bed. I got on the bed And then I was like, how do you feel about me being on the bed? And it said, get off, is what it said. Clear as day. These are the things I'm talking about. Soul Seeker days, it was like crazy, the SB7 responses I was getting. I don't know if that fucking SB7 that Dante had was like special or something, but it was because I never could recreate the same thing again as actively as I did back in Soul Seeker days. Maybe it's because my belief system was different, and like I said, the psychology thing involved.
Right.
And then the way I was new to the paranormal, so I was like all energetic and like super excited about everything, and maybe has small bits of fear at certain times. And so like that was the time period where I was getting crazy responses during that time. I'm going to make a top 5, top 10 list. I guarantee it, guys. It might change your guys' mind for spirit boxes. I know there's skeptics out there. Trust me.
Sure.
It's weird. It's fucking weird.
I will watch it. I mean, yeah, I've had some interesting things happen with them too, but it's one of those things where it's just like, you know, I can't. I hate just being like all in with something. You know what I mean? I always try to keep my feet on the ground, and my head out of my ass, which usually doesn't always work. Sometimes my head just remains in my ass. So far, I can see the back of my teeth sometimes, but I definitely try to refrain from that when it's the debunking situation. I'm always about debunking, because if it can't, I mean, if it doesn't always mean that if you can't debunk it, with that, and it also doesn't always mean that if you can't debunk it in the moment that it can't ever be debunked. Again, Teshi helped prove that with me last week. What advice would you give to other investigators on maintaining honesty and integrity in their work, and for and debunking and stuff like that? What advice would you give somebody for that?
Think like a skeptic.
Right.
I think like a skeptic all the time. So I think, okay, completely take away your belief, and then you're like, okay, what would the skeptic say right now about the situation? And so then I go through all those steps. That's what I did with the chair. With at the time I couldn't debunk it, then we debunked it later, but I went every step I could think of at the time and could not debunk it. And then obviously we found the right answer later after reviewing the DVR footage and everything. But when it comes to the that aspect, you just have to think in that way. What would a skeptic say? What would a skeptic say? And that's how I find most of my answers, or if or just can't find an answer. And then, but the good news is, if you go through all those steps, the credibility of the piece of footage you captured just goes up if you went through all the steps of like what that skeptic, you think the skeptic would say. And so that's what I do. And I've always been like that. It's because the reason why is because when I first started investigating, I wasn't doing it because I didn't believe in it. I did believe in it because of my personal experiences as a kid. But it was more of the fact that I wanted to prove it to others. And that's the idea I was trying to go by. I won't prove it to everyone. I finally come to terms to all that, but I do want to prove it to most that are at least that are more open-minded, because there's the closed-minded skeptics that would just not believe in anything you say. Sure. And so, but I want to prove it to the open-minded skeptics. Like, this situation couldn't really do it. I couldn't find a national explanation for it. Then maybe it'll be like, okay, that's interesting. Like, some of the people I know in person, they'll be like, I don't know how this happened, and here's the reason why. And then I went through this and stuff like that. It's more compelling when I meet those people in person and then show them the breakdown I did, and then they find it interesting for those skeptics.
Yeah. And the closed-minded skeptic at that point, it's like, well, are you even really skeptical, or are you just a non-believer? And I think one of the biggest misconceptions in the paranormal world or the paranormal field is that if you're a debunker or a skeptic, that you just completely don't believe. And yeah, I'm finding that. I mean, I know things I know it. I've experienced it. I've seen it. I have felt it. I've experienced it with other people. I know there's something there, but I want to genuinely know that there's something there. You know what I mean? Like, when something happens, I want to genuinely know that there's no logical explanation for what just occurred. And I think what are your views on that, on the importance of people being able to differentiate between non-believers and skeptics and debunkers?
So there's always going to be cognitive dissonance.
Mhm.
Everyone has it. It's just the level of what you have, and like what level you have of it. So the more open-minded on both ends, you should be open-minded to both sides completely. Right in the middle is where everyone should be. Right in the middle, on both sides. Don't know the answer, or you do know the answer. You need to figure it out. And so, that's how you keep your credibility. Because if you're just 100% believer in everything and act all crazy whenever a REM pod goes off, like Sam and Colby, your credibility isn't as I would say. No one in the scientific community is going to take you seriously. No one. It's like if you start freaking out over small things like that, and just say it's a ghost, no one in the scientific community is going to take you seriously, and that's a problem. And it's even becoming worse of a problem with today's YouTube trend.
You're right.
I'm going to call it a trend because I was around before paranormal was big on YouTube, and the biggest channel on YouTube when the paranormal was like 30,000 subscribers.
Wow.
And that was Dorset Ghost Investigators. They were the biggest at the time, and they were like some UK group.
Right, I know they are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
great group. I thought they were a good group. I don't know much about them anymore, but
yeah, they kind of fell off after they got their channel taken down because they got demonetized and everything because of Pilgrim Studios was taking all the claims for Ghost Hunters being used, the name Ghost Hunters, because of the Ghost Hunters TV show. And so it ruined their channel a little bit, and that's why they actually deleted that channel and created a new one, and that's why it doesn't have as many subscribers as they did back then. And they kind of like, after that deletion and everything, they I guess it kind of killed their motivation a little bit, because I think they stopped for a while. Then they started bringing some stuff back and everything. But yeah, Dorset Ghost Investigators were there's two that were the most popular at the time. It was them and Steve Huff. They were the two, and I'm not a fan of Steve Huff,
Right.
but those were the two most popular at the time. And then years have gone by, and then there's a whole bunch of groups coming out and everything. I think was trying to remember some of the names, Paranormal Quest or something like that. I forgot some of the names. And then Resident Undead, all of them. Like they were starting, the things are starting to change to where a whole bunch of groups started coming out. But back then, at least, some of those groups I felt like were doing it for the right reasons. Now, today, I feel like people are doing it for the money of YouTube. And that's the difference between back then and now. Most of the YouTubers right now are doing it for money. And you can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell by the way they act. They don't care about the history. They don't care about the what they put in their titles. That they don't care about the research. They care about the money and the views. And that's when the paranormal has been falling off a lot more in the paranormal community. Is what because of YouTube it started becoming a trend on YouTube, is the reason why out of the woodworks, because Sam and Colby weren't a ghost hunting channel originally.
Right.
They were originally doing pranks and everything, and then they had their personal experience with the Queen Mary and stuff like that, and then they started getting into it, but they're not taking the paranormal as seriously. Okay, I shouldn't say that. They take it seriously, but they don't go through the scientific method or trying to figure things out as often.
Sure.
I would say they are passionate about it. It's obvious they're passionate about it. It's just that they're not going through the right steps.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they faked. I'm not 100%, but I can tell that they're over traumatizing their reactions for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that made me skeptical of them was it was the Conjuring House thing, but it was the last day that they were there. And the blonde one, I think that's Sam. They were having a Ouija board session, and Colby was with him, of course. And Colby said,
"Oh, I heard this story. Yeah,
I thought that Sam was moving it, and so I was just kind of going along with it." And when
that's wrong. Yeah, that's the wrong mentality right there.
Yeah,
now,
to me,
that's the YouTuber mentality right there. That's
right.
the YouTuber mentality, and
totally
that's wrong.
Yeah, to me, that says that that he's okay with faking things. That loud and clear. That's what that says. Yet, I didn't seem to notice anybody calling them out on that or anything, but yeah, I mean they're a little overhyped.
I'm not
for
saying
me.
they're real or anything. I just don't know. I don't call
I
them
know.
fake until they're definitively proven fake. That's what I call them fake. And so like, oh my gosh, Live Sci-Fi and all that, they've been caught.
Yeah, totally.
and Franco TV. So they've been caught multiple times, and that's why I can say those names. But the ones that I can't say the names because I haven't found that definitive proof, or I haven't been shown at least.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really even searching, to be honest. So someone actually has to show me, or if I find a video that I click on, then I'll be interested. And maybe sometimes for the debunkers out there. The only thing is that most of these debunkers now are just reacting to channels and not finding actual evidence, and that's kind of annoying to me. Because, but anyway, so that's when I think things can get a little toxic with the debunking community, is when they start claiming everyone's fake without evidence. That's when it's starting to go the wrong path, in my opinion. And you can have your opinions, but you're putting titles saying like faked, like kind of like playing the YouTube game. I get it, but it affects. I'm very big about how I word my titles. Like if I say demon in a title, which is, I think I only did that one time in all my videos, and I put a question mark exclamation point because right. I don't know 100%. So, and then like the Hales Bar Dam, I said ghost screams question mark, and so it's still grabbing, but it's not definitively saying anything. Like it's not saying like, oh yeah, that's what it is. There's a question mark in it on purpose, and I do that. So that's the only thing about that's why I think people need to be careful in the debunking community when it comes to that kind of stuff. Not claiming everyone's fake.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife chat now.
Yeah, Helena showed up. Helena is Hauntingly Beautiful Adventures, is married with to Matt here. And
Taken.
yeah. And Joe Vitale showed up as well. Welcome both of you. So let's talk a bit about Evil Unearthed. Your upcoming documentary, Evil Unearthed, it's generating a lot of anticipation, and I'm interested. Could you give us a glimpse into what makes this project unique and what viewers can, what you hope viewers can take from it?
Okay, this is the tagline of this film: a true horror documentary. That's what makes this one unique. The style, the editing style, and everything, it feels like a horror film, but it's real. So imagine when everyone was like, oh, the first Paranormal Activity or the Blair Witch Project, how they were all excited because they thought it was real. This time, and then they found out that it's fake. This one, you don't have to worry about that. This one is real. And the 100% entire time, the entire film itself is 100% real, and it feels like a horror film in a way. Obviously, you're not going to have the jump scares and everything like a horror film does because it's real. But the editing style and everything is at a very horror vibe. And that's what I wanted for this film, because there's some creepy things captured, and also creepy things involved, hint, ritualistic wise in this house that gives it a horror vibe, and then possession and stuff like that. So it's definitely one of those locations that deserves its own film because of the mystery of this place and what was captured from this location, and what I have on this location. It's really cool. I have things on this place that no one else can make into a documentary because no one else has it. I'm the only one that has certain things on this place, and so that's what makes this stand out from anything else out there on the Monroe House. And also, the people that are putting YouTube videos out there are not even putting the full history of the location. They're putting hearsay stuff, but we have actual documents on some of this stuff. So for like the deaths, for example, no one's saying the names of these people that have died in the place. They never put a definitive name on it. It's because no one's doing the deep diving. Joe and myself have been doing the deep diving into the history. And then we got, I think Karen helped out with a little bit too with some of them. So we did the deep dive, and we know the name of the person that did the rituals. You know, we can't say the name, but we have an interview from someone, Mike, who spoke to him. And so basically, we're going to reveal all this in the film. It's going to be uncovering a lot more about the house than anything else that's out there right now.
When you go to edit, how do you approach the editing process? And like what role does sound design play in creating atmosphere for you?
Okay, sound design is extremely important to me. Most of the time, I actually edit to music, especially intros, trailers, and all that. I edit to music, and so. Okay, this is getting into it. Okay, so basically, when it comes to a film, when it comes to creating a film, you have to have some kind of artistic mindset when it comes to what you think is interesting and what you think is going to grab someone's attention. Like you've seen the introduction of the film, right?
For sure, yep.
Right when I heard that phone call, I knew that was going to be the beginning of the film. I knew this for years before I even edited it. I knew that was going to be the very beginning of the film. Kind of spoiling something, but that is the introduction of this film because it really brings you in. You're like, what's going on? And like you need that grabber for the beginning of the film. You kind of have to think in this way. You have to think as an entertainment point of view. There's two sides to me. The entertainment side, which is, when I say that, I mean like being able to grab your attention. Right. And sound design and all that. And then there's the investigator side, trying to find the true history, figuring out if it's actually paranormal evidence or it's up in the air, don't know. That's like those two sides of me that I have to put all together. And I'm a huge horror fan, so I wanted to make this film like a horror film, and that's what this one's turning into. But there's going to be future films that I probably won't edit it in that way, that are going to be the more scientific ones. But this one, I felt like deserves to be its true horror documentary. It might be the first of its kind. I don't think I've seen a film out there that feels like a horror film, but it's real.
Right.
I haven't seen one.
I can't think of any.
The Blair Witch and First Paranormal Activity were fake, so that's the only two I could compare it to, but they're not real. So that's the tagline for this film, a true horror documentary.
Yeah, which I think is phenomenal. It's definitely got my interest just in the tagline alone. Now I've seen a little bit here and there, and been with you while you've been editing stuff, and watching what you do compared to the way I go about it, it's worlds apart, worlds difference. Of course, we're two totally different kinds of artists, because I do think it is art.
It is definitely.
And especially with your sound design, your B-roll, again, I'm not trying to kiss your ass. I really do mean your B-roll is, and your sound design are just really, really phenomenal. You do a really good job, especially for somebody who never went to film school. These are things.
I did 1 year of film school, but mostly sound.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I misspoke. I forgot that you had a year, but they didn't teach you these things in film school.
No, they didn't teach me about sound design. They didn't teach me about the only thing that film school actually taught me that I use is chroma key for green screening. That's the only thing that actually no, I didn't learn it from film school. I actually learned that from my class, because I did advanced visual media arts in high school, which is basically an editing class for Wolfpack Television. It was like a school television program thing. And so that's when I learned green screen. And then when I went to college, the main thing I took from that was Photoshop, and I used that for my thumbnails. So it's like, those are the only two things I've learned from school that I still use today. So gotcha. Everything else is pretty much self-taught for me. And so, yeah. Helena, thank you very much, babe. She says, I'm so proud of you, babe, and I'm so happy I can do this film making and paranormal with you. Yeah, I love working with her. She just doesn't like how skeptical I am about things sometimes. Because I call myself an investigator, not a ghost hunter. I feel like there's a difference.
Yeah.
Because I feel like ghost hunters are doing it for the fun and for the thrill, and for the experience. I'm doing it because I'm trying to get to the bottom, basically to the bottom of things, like why these things happen, what are the proper ways of doing this research and stuff like that. So, my wife is extremely talented. I guys recommend checking her channel out, and also her crime channel, which I think she can become big in that one day.
Yeah,
I really do. She's extremely talented.
Yeah, she's done some really good work.
She's gonna surprise me one day because she's only been editing for 2.5 years. I've been editing for 15 years. So she's already closing that gap, and it's like I can't imagine where she's gonna be in like 10 years from now. It's gonna be insane.
Just a natural at it. I do want to remind the chat to hold your questions until later. You'll be able to ask your questions either live. You can come up here on the stage with us and ask your question live later, or you can just put it in the chat. Just wanted to throw that reminder out there. So you mentioned a bit before about challenges when you were filming the Harrisville Haunting, mostly came after in post. What about challenges that you faced producing Evil Unearthed, and have you gotten past those?
So I would say the most challenging is this is a very differently edited style than my last film, than our last film. It's because the way it's edited is not just the history. Think of this. I've been investigating this place since 2017, and I kept investigating it all the way to 2023. And I wanted a timeline for this so you don't get confused of what's going on. So I'm literally dating everything in clear letters, like in clear font, of when everything's happening and when these time frames happen and when I uncover this new information. This is all being dated. And so it's like a investigation that took place years in the making into finally this one film and one big final investigation with the cast, which is Helena Benton, Joe Vitale, Eric Connor, Dante Reeder. Dante's now working with me. So
right.
I left Soul Singers and created Paranormal Research Unit, and he joined me now too. And then who am I missing? Someone? Dwayne, West, Tanya. Basically, all of Paranormal Research Unit was there, and including a couple like Eric, a couple ones from other teams, and Josh Benner was there for a little bit too. Also, he didn't really investigate with us. He just gave me my new helmet design though. So I have like my own. I do my own setups sometimes for the paranormal, and one of them was the helmet. Kind of became big in the paranormal-ish because people keep talking about it. Mm-hmm. I even go on live streams and I'm not even in the chat or anything. I just hear someone talk about the Matt Benton's helmet. Like, it's kind of funny. It just kind of got known. I'm becoming known for the helmet.
Okay.
So it's called the Paratac helmet is what I call it. And the Paratac 2.0 is back there, which is the only one in existence right now. Yeah. Because it has a custom deadlights on it from Josh Benner. And so it's the best POV system for the paranormal, in my opinion, because it has a Zoom Q2N 4K camera, which Zoom is way better with audio because it is an audio company. They created voice recorders, and way better than GoPro when it comes to audio. And so it has very good audio, including really good 4K footage, but it's been converted to full spectrum. So it's and then it has two big IR lights on it for 20 watts of IR, and I have a battery pack in the back. I have it back there if you guys want to see it. It's right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Show and tell, sir. Show and tell.
This is the 2.0 version. Oh shit. This is where the battery pack is. That's the team name. Dead light. This is my regular flashlight.
Right.
And then there's the two IRs at the end, and that's a Zoom Q2N. So yeah, this is my design, and it kind of fits too because this is actually very similar to what I wear in the Marine Corps. So like when it comes to the high cut. So yeah.
Very Splinter Cell of you. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Go ahead.
I have another setup called the OMI rig, which is basically the RVPR setup, but also I added 2 other things to it. It is actually 3. So it has a dead light, has a 4K night vision camera, like the Sony AX53, and then the a face cam to show that you're not whispering or anything like that. And also it's good for filmmaking reasons too. So
really going out of your way to show that there's no manipulation going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's really, I wish more people would do that. It's a very wonderful strong suit for you.
I think I'm the I'm the first person to ever edit my episodes and documentaries completely live for everyone to see.
Right, and I was just about to ask about that. Obviously it's important to you to involve your audience in your investigative process and your editing process. Elaborate. What sparked that for you? Where did this idea, if I do it this way, where did all that come from, and why are you doing it?
Because I want to be completely transparent with the viewers, because I'm tired of skeptics thinking I'm faking things. So I'm like, you know what? Watch me edit the whole film.
Right.
So literally I am editing the entire film. I did this with the Harrisville Haunting, and I'm doing it still with Evil Unearthed. I'm editing the entire film live. And so you can see every little small thing I do to the film. There's no hiding. So if there was any faking involved, you would see it, because I'm doing it live. Even for mess ups, for example, I guarantee you, if you were live streaming something, you would, if someone was faking, you would mess up and like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to show that.
Right.
Oh shit. So like, yeah, I do it live. It's not pre-recorded. And so I upload. Sorry, not upload. I put them in a playlist, the big giant playlist, and right now they're only for members, for the YouTube members to watch. But when the film is out and everything, I make that to an unlisted playlist where anyone could go watch the entire playlist, and I put it in the film description box for when it's on my YouTube channel, because the films are not going to be on my YouTube channels until it's out for a little while. And I don't even know if the future, like if I get to a different distributor like A24 or something like that, I don't even know if I'm allowed to upload it to YouTube. But with Gravitas, I'm allowed to have full control of my own film, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Helena is thanking me for inviting Matt on. No, the pleasure is all mine, honestly. Both you beautiful people are welcome here anytime.
Yeah, I definitely recommend Helena as a guest.
Yeah, I would love to. She and I will talk about that for sure. You are set. Actually, let me ask a different one first. So you've gotten to have a lot of interaction with the YouTube community, definitely because of streaming literally pretty much every single day, the editing process. You are, if you're going to bet that Matt Benton's going to be live today, you're probably going to win that bet. How has... Right, yeah. Yeah, which, by the way, thank you for your service. How has your interaction with the YouTube community influenced your work? And you're bound to get some sort of criticism or feedback. How does that go? First of all, just how did it affect your work? How does it affect your work? Start there, and then if you can think of anything where it's kind of, had a positive or a negative effect on you.
I wouldn't say it's really negative. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of negative comments, but I'm just used to it. I don't really, I take critiques, but I don't take hater comments. I don't really care. Like, I'm very nonchalant about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm built for the social media life because I can take a lot, so I don't really care. But sometimes you deal with stupid people that just don't make any sense. You're like trying to get through the head, and you just have to give up because they're just not very smart. As you can tell, either they have a mental issue or they're just very stupid. One of the two.
And you're specifically, just to be clear, you're talking about people who are literally going out of their way to cause you trouble. It's not just some reasonable question. It's something where it's people who are just really, they've got a bone to pick with you for some reason.
Yeah, I had a recent one that was like in my comments saying that Billy obviously stepped on the chair and everything. You faked it. I was like, actually, this is what actually happened. I made a video on it. Here's an update video. Send him the update video. He's like, still saying the same thing, and I'm like, did you watch it? I was like, right. He's saying he did, but I doubt he did. Either that or he just has a mental issue. And so I was like, how are we faking it if we're the ones that debunked it? And so I'm like, right. It makes no sense. And then I show very clearly in the documentary that is not what happened, because literally the right moment when it initiates, he is about a foot away from it. So, because these in the Conjuring House, these wood panels go all the way across the floor. It's not separated. So it goes all the way across the floor, and I pause at the exact moment so you can see exactly where he steps. So obviously he didn't touch the end of the rocking chair. That's not how it happened. How it happened is that it was stuck against the wall, and him walking towards it unlodged it, and then that's how it went forward. Right. So that is actually how it happened. But this guy's saying that he stepped on it, and it's obviously, I show that's not the case. But we found a natural explanation for it, and he couldn't take that natural explanation and still calling us fake. I was like, that's when I'm like, okay, you're just stupid. I can't really explain anything else to you.
Yeah, when you've clearly debunked something and you're clearly being open about it, and someone just continues on like that, it's really, it can be irritating. It can grind on you for a bit, but obviously that guy's just, he's either seeking attention or he just wants to argue, one or both, Yeah. You are set to speak at the Warrens Paracon in Gettysburg this September, as I mentioned earlier, 27th through the 29th. You'll be on stage, basically on a panel, and sharing some pretty cool insights about your documentary, the upcoming documentary. What topics are you going to be talking about, and what are you most excited to share with the attendees?
The trailer. I love watching people's reactions to the editing, and my favorite emotion to give people when it comes to my editing is the chills. When someone tells me they get the chills, I'm like, oh yes, that's my favorite emotion to give when it comes to my editing. And I've been told that many times with the Harrisville Haunting. Been told that for this Evil Unearthed trailer, it's my favorite emotion to give, and it just goes to show the power of what filmmaking can do. And that's what filmmaking is, to give you an emotional reaction to what you're showing, in any way. It could be anything. It could be like, oh, you're angry at, like, any film in general. Be angry at this situation, or you can be like sad about this situation, or like that is filmmaking is an emotional response to in an art form, basically, and sound design is a huge big part of that too. And that's why I try and give people the chills, and I love that emotion when people have that. And I get it. Everything I've made so far, sorry, that's not right. Everything I've made recently so far, I've had at least one comment of someone saying they got the chills for something, and I love that so much. Nice.
Yeah. So with all that going on, and going back to kind of the point about the person that was giving you a hard time, what ethical considerations do you believe are crucial for paranormal investigators to keep in mind as this field seems to grow and evolve?
What ethical, sorry, repeat that again? What ethical what?
Ethical considerations. What, basically, I guess.
Okay. I got some.
Cool.
Learn about the equipment that you're using. Because cameras are a big one. Audio is a big one. The lower quality audio your recorders are, the more likely you're going to get pareidolia of sounds. Because, for example, I actually, if you watch the editing process of the Harrisville Haunting, Eric likes to do things with low quality recorders, which I don't like personally, but I wasn't trying to tell him what to do with how he investigates. And I debunked 99% of all of his so-called EVPs because it's such a low quality recorder that every single time someone made a movement sound with their clothes or shuffled their feet, it sounded like a whisper on his recorder because the information isn't being transferred into the device because it's so crap audio that it just sounds like a whisper. When you have a very high quality recorder, you could differentiate those sounds easily. Oh, it's like that's obviously his movement because it captures a lot more information through the bit rate of the audio.
Right.
So it's just clear audio is better.
Yeah.
And so and then that's a factor that people need to understand about audio. And then another factor is when it comes to like I mentioned earlier about cameras, slow shutter speed, orbs, dust orbs, moisture, flash photography, brighting everything up, like when it comes to orbs, and also mist formations from their breaths or whatever like that. So like that's what I preach a lot, is understand your equipment. And then what can set off your REM, for example, because for example, I think most paranormal investigators know this. I don't know if there are probably some that don't, but walkie-talkies can set off REM pods. So it's just an example. And there's
not only can they set them off, but they can, like, you move it around and it'll wee wee wee. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, so there you have to keep a lot of other factors, especially if you're in an area, a city-like area. There's frequencies being, like, if you're in San Diego or some big city, there's being frequencies being sent out all over the place from possible construction sites, possible whatever, like whatever devices out there that can be setting these things off. So if you're going to use a REM, I recommend it like literally in the middle of fucking nowhere. So that's my personal opinion on them. But because I feel like, and sometimes I also notice a pattern when the REMs keep going off, like around the same time it starts to go off, and I'm like, okay, that could be something natural, just don't know what it is the only thing. So if you're starting to see pattern with it going off at a certain amount of time.
Right. Well, you've been doing this for close to 13 years now. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you going?
The paranormal. the experiences. Also, I love history and I love old buildings. Like I said earlier, the things that I've always gravitated towards was history and science. And literally this job is all three of the things I love: history, science, and filmmaking all in one. Literally a dream. Right. So it's like, it's literally right up my alley. And some future films are going to be a lot more scientific, not with the last two, the first two I've released, but there's future ideas and experiments that have not been done in the paranormal field that can be done. One of them is just way too expensive, so I understand why. But there's other ideas out there that aren't as expensive and anyone can do. And so I'll be going over that in a future film. I'm going to try and hopefully advance the field instead of going backwards like YouTube has been making it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I mentioned earlier. And I'm glad you brought up the mag sensor, because I wasn't going to. I was kind of keeping that secret. Well, because you asked me to, but you brought it up, and I've never seen anyone do that, and I find that to be so innovative, and I really hope that people see that and start to take a cue. I'm sure, because it's once you see how the thing works, because a lot of people haven't even heard of this thing or really how it works, but once you see how it works, it's intriguing to say the least, because it's like, what is causing that to happen? There's nothing there, and there's this tone that's happening. And I really do think that you are definitely ahead of the game in your innovation when it comes to stuff like this, because all the other stuff has just been dried up. The well is almost dry when it comes to the format and the formula that people use when it comes to creating these paranormal ghost hunting shows. We'll call them. I think what you do is not a ghost hunt. I mean, you have ghost hunting shows that you've done and stuff like that. But when it comes to these, they're documentaries. They're legit documentaries. And you know, there's an element of investigative journalism that's happening as well, you know, and that can be extremely fun. How does that motivate you? How does that, knowing that this is something that you're on the cusp of dropping on people, how does that make you feel?
I feel really good about it because I'm very passionate about it. And when you said journalism, yeah, these documentaries are very journalistic for the Harrisville Haunting, and this coming up one's even more, I feel like, because there's so much like being uncovered throughout the years that I had to represent in the film. And so, but when it comes to my passion in science, I feel like I could blend that more with a couple things I've already showed you. And I want it to be in a film platform, like actually make a film about it, because YouTube is not going to give me the viewership for getting that out there. The films will. And so I'm hoping to capture some good evidence with these new techniques and ideas in the paranormal with this scientific, let's say, there's more than just equipment in this one. It's more like big scientific studies that could be done, and hopefully this for other people out there that are into science like I am can start doing it too, and hopefully get a reputation for PRU to be a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for, credibility towards the scientific community, because there's a lot of paranormal out there that is not having that credibility because the way they are doing it.
Yeah. Well, that, and of course the fakers, the actual fakers.
Oh, they are ruining it for us even more.
Yeah.
It is a problem, but
yeah, it's detrimental to people who, like you, who are doing things for the reasons that you're doing them. You're looking for answers, and when you have people who are out there muddying the waters or not being critical thinkers, maybe they're not necessarily faking, but they're not stepping back from themselves and looking at it in a third-person point of view and saying, you know, maybe I shouldn't associate myself with something like this. They just do it because they want the clicks and they want the ad revenue, like you said earlier. It's detrimental to what you're doing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's the exact opposite of what I represent. Complete opposite. It's all about the research, not the viewership. Absolutely. Yes, viewership matters if you want to make this your job. And that's why the documentaries are such a blessing, because now that I found an avenue that I don't have to use clickbait, because that's what you're going to have to play the game in YouTube is clickbait titles and also clickbait thumbnails and stuff like that. That's how you get, and also quantity over quality. So those are all things about YouTube that goes against what I'm about. And so I have to go another avenue, and I finally found that, which is going through a distributor to put a full feature film out. Now I can do it as my job, and I can also don't have to be censored. I don't have to be overly, what's the word? It's hard to explain. I'm still sensationalizing because of the entertainment value of how I edit when it comes to, let's say, the sound design, creep factor stuff and all that. Obviously there's some sensationalism in that stuff, but some people actually feel that way when it comes to these things, that creep factor, the scariness of it. And so I'm just heightening those senses when you watch it. And that's the only sensationalizing I'm doing, because when it comes to the actual activity itself and everything, I'm not making things up about it. It's actually what happened, or what I believe happened, or what I believe is causing it. It's not sensationalizing. It's all demons. Even though this other one has more evidence, this next film has more evidence of it possibly being that, because of the rituals that took place there, and also we got confirmation on the person that did the rituals. So yes, this one might have possible demonic activity. It's a little different. So
right. Where is somewhere that you haven't investigated but really would like to?
Poveglia Island.
Okay. Give me a bit of a rundown on what that is.
That is the island of death in Italy.
Okay.
Literally, the bubonic plague happened in that area. They put all the people on that island to die. And then they also burned so many bodies there. There's literally bodies of ash all over that island, including they have wars that took place there and tsunamis that took place on it. So it's a lot of death on that island. And
Gotcha.
so I already have a film idea that I'm not going to say publicly with that location.
Okay. Super cool. Well, that's exciting. All right, my friend. Well, we've been doing this for 2 hours. We're going to go ahead and take a little break. Go get yourself something to drink. Pee if you gotta. I know I have to. And then when we come back, we'll go ahead and start taking questions from our viewers. I have pinned a link to the top, so that way you can get backstage, and I will bring on people to ask questions one at a time. If you have a question and you just want to put it in the chat, that's fine too. You don't have to come on. It's just something that is available. So we're going to take a little break, and we will be right back with filmmaker and award-winning documentarian Matt Benton.
Oh my. How unfortunate. Just kidding.
Alrighty, we are back with Matt Benton, and again, this is Into the Night. Thanks everybody for jumping in here with us and hanging out. Let me go ahead and shout out again, see who's in the chat real quick before we go on to questions here. We have Helena, The Hauntingly Beautiful Adventures, The Horror of Horror, and Tara and Teshi. I also know Candy's in there, and I'm sure Steph is still zoning out listening. Who else is popping up? Yeah, there she is. There's Steph. We've got, Candy, there she is. Alrighty, well, as I mentioned before, we're going to take questions and call-ins. So if you want to come on the stage, again, the link is pinned at the top. Just click on that and you'll go backstage. I'll see that you're backstage, and I'll bring you up. If I bring you up, you'll be given a maximum of 60 seconds to ask your question. I've got a timer right here. No, not 61 seconds, not 59 seconds. You got 60 seconds to ask your question, and then you can either choose to sit in the stream while he answers you, or you can leave the stage right after you ask the question and just listen to your answer on the stream. If you choose to stay in while he answers, I ask that once he's finished answering, you promptly leave, and that way I can get the next person up if there is somebody who wants to come on, and that way we can just answer as many questions as possible and not have people waiting for too long. So again, if you want to come on, you can go ahead and click that link up there, and if you've got questions in the chat already, we'll go ahead and start reading those. And then also, it's very important that if you do come in, go ahead and mute the stream, so that way it doesn't get confusing to you. You're not going to be hearing double voices, because that can get very confusing. So let's see here. Do we have anybody in here asking questions?
My
Do you
wife
see
just
any?
comes in, and then she just gives me a funny question.
We got one from Booberry. Matt, are you going to let us see the trailer for your new movie tonight?
You know, 19 of you. Yeah, I don't think everyone's coming to this event, so I'm going to. Sure, we can do it.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
So, blueberries, please.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it's very good. So yeah, you're
back in the day, I
welcome
could
to.
not do this because back in the day, like it was a long time ago, a couple of years ago, I couldn't do this because all my viewership was YouTube. So now that the films are now branching out to so many other people that we don't even know, it's more okay to do, I feel like. So it gets out there. It's still. So I guess I don't like, it's not public on my channel yet because I don't want to go to a whole bunch of new people yet, new viewers yet. But in the secret, like in between live streams or whatever, not titled with the film and stuff like that, then I'm like, okay, we could probably do it. But with it's not going to be a public until for a while. So
Right. Melody Herring, thank you for the subscription. I really appreciate that. Steph Cuervo Queen asks, Matt, if you could make a documentary about a jail or asylum, would you, and which one would you prefer?
I love my favorite places to investigate are asylums and jails, but I need a good storyline. So when I make a film, it has to have something. Oh shit, that's right. It has to have a good storyline, and it can't just be, oh, here's another ghost hunting show, history, evidence. I don't want it to be. I want it to be more than that. So it has to be weird, mysterious, like this one is. The Conjuring. I think it just kind of the Conjuring itself has its name, and I wanted to see if the activity was as big as what Ed and Lorraine Warren was talking about, and so I felt like I had an interesting storyline for that. But this, and also what happened to me too. So this next, for the next film, it has to have a good storyline. It has to. That's what I care about. I do quantity. Sorry. Opposite. I do quality over quantity, and so I don't want it to be just another paranormal show out there, or it has to be interesting.
Yeah, that's very understandable. Helena asks, how does it feel to have a wife now who's as passionate about the paranormal and filming as you are?
It's great, because when it comes to when we have similar views on things, like she can understand that when I'm editing and taking up a lot of my time, she understands what I'm doing. But at the same time, we have to like find time for each other. So it's like a working. But what I like that she understands the social media too. So when some random person I do not know, like for example, hits on me or something like that, like she doesn't get all like defensive and everything and jealous and stuff like that. Because if I'm not saying anything back or I'm not doing anything, there shouldn't be any of that. And I had past relationships where they got really jealous about it. And so since she knows how the internet's like, I like that part about that. We have an understanding of the social media space, and we don't get jealous about those small things like that. And then when it comes to, let's say, the aspect of we relate with each other a lot. The only negative part is that she compares herself a lot to me in my editing, and she shouldn't. And I feel like she should become her own creator, her own artist, and she's already better than me at certain things. I think she creates better thumbnails most of the time. I think she's already different in those aspects, to where she has things that stand out better than I do. And I think she's better at editing vlogs than me. I think like she stands out, and she's her own artist, and I feel like she can create her own. Don't compare herself to me, and don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just keep doing your own thing. Like,
yeah, she is quite talented, and she very much has her own persona, which is very strong, and definitely a lot of very very wonderful attributes that she carries along with her. And I think you're extremely lucky to have found somebody that not only understands what you do, but loves what you do and encourages what you do. You know,
it's great to have someone that has my back,
right?
Because they say that the person that you marry is going to either break you or bring you up. Yeah. And she definitely is bringing me up. So that's very, very important. The person that you put in your life is a very big part of the man you become. So
yeah. Wayne Dawson is asking, if you were to make a documentary about a fake channel, which channel would you choose and why?
Oh no. Fake channel.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. It's not typically something that you do.
No. So I would say I would have two channel ideas, because I can't, if I had an idea of talking about. So I have a bad example and a good example. in the fake industry of things. I would say that like the ones that admitted that their stuff is entertainment, then I would like to like talk about them, and then the ones that keep it all secret and act like they're real, and then talk about badly about what they're doing to the field. So like Omar Gosh and a couple others out there that are making it seem like, oh, they're real and everything. And then there's Mindseed TV that they make it clear they're entertainment, and same with a couple other channels out there, like that Russian guy. I can't remember that guy's name. The Russian guy that has paranormal videos out there. He's just doing entertainment, and I like that he admits it, and that's completely fine in my opinion. Just like make a found footage thing. That's what he's doing. So,
we do have somebody who's decided to come on. Teshi would like to ask you a question, so I'm going to go ahead and bring Teshi in to ask. How you doing, Teshi?
Hey, pretty good, guys. How are you?
Doing great.
Doing well, brother. What's your question?
Well, the question I have is actually, I was watching one of Seg's videos, and this comes from the scientist that he had. It was brilliant. What about using decibel meters and keeping a camera on them as you're doing EVPs to show when they spike to match it up with the video so that you can see that this is a real EVP?
Yeah, because apparently like decibels can be, they say that some EVPs can be lower than decibels in the human ear, which is an interesting theory, and also can possibly provide more evidence of it being these EVPs being something that is actually by the human ear sound. I mean, sorry, not human ear. I should say actual sound, not something imprinted into the device, which some people believe for EVPs. So yeah, I think it's smart. Definitely collect data that way, for sure. That's just one small thing. There's a lot more in the science community that you can do, and I will be making a documentary about that. Does he say anything else? Does he have any other methods, or is that the only one?
That's the one that he did a lot of different things. I mean, the whole thing was fantastic. He was a real scientist. They set up all these things, and they did temperatures. They did all sorts of different things.
Yeah, we have devices like EDI Plus, and I'm purchasing very soon a dark matter meter, which is one of the rarest devices out there. You can't even find it on the internet, but I know someone that has it, and I'll be getting it from that person because that person stopped being in the paranormal field. I mean, they stopped investigating, and I'm going to get that dark matter meter back. And not back. I should say that Justin Brown was using it back in the day because they were part of the team at the time, and I love that device. It collects a lot of good data, and the EDI Plus is another big one. It sucks that they stopped making them. I didn't even know they stopped making them, and now they're hard to get. So I wish someone told me. I would have purchased more, because now I have to go search for these damn things. There's a lot more EDI Pluses than the dark matter meter, though, because that guy only made a handful. And so I'll go more in depth in the video about the dark matter meter, so you guys get in depth about what it does. But it's really cool. It's from a science guy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, and that was a really good video too. Thanks, Teshi, for coming on and asking a question. That's awesome. See, there's nothing to it. You don't have to show your face or nothing. You can just use your microphone, and that went pretty well. Thanks for being my first call in, long time listener, first time caller.
I just want to say also, like, there's other methods out there that more than just sound that you can do. And it will be revealed in the future documentary.
Nice. Man, you're getting me all aroused over here, talking like that. Helena asks, what is a location you would not investigate and why?
Not investigate?
Yeah.
Any place that has a lot of people in it. Because, yeah, I like the Queen Mary, but it's not a good place to investigate. It's too much contamination.
Yeah, I was always interested in Bobby Mackey's. They're tearing that place down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sucks.
I never got to go there. I've always been interested in that place, though, and it's not too far from where I live. But it's one of those that I've heard enough stories where I'm like, do I really want to go there? You know. Steph Cuervo Queen asks, Matt, if you could do a 24-hour lights out at the Monroe house alone with just your camera, what would you do in ways of investigating, and how would you approach that?
You know what's funny? I've already done that.
Nice.
I did for 3 days. That one of the locations, I forgot to mention this. So I mentioned that I did Man vs. Paranormal for that other film idea. I actually was in the building for one of the locations was the Monroe house, and it's good. The stuff I filmed for Man vs. Paranormal at the Monroe house is going to be in this film, and you will see what I did and captured when I was by myself in the Monroe house for 3 days.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Booberry's asking, do your military buddies give you a hard time about your investigations?
Sometimes. But you know what was funny? So when my last unit, they made fun of it and everything, what I did and everything. And then when I told them how much I made from the film, they now shut up.
Sure. Yeah, it's easy. There's a stigma that goes along with being a ghost hunter, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I dealt with it my whole life because, well, not my whole life, but a big portion of my life because of I started in high school. And so I got the comments since high school to all my jobs and the military. It's like, it's just going to follow me everywhere. So,
Right. Yeah, that's, but you wear it like a badge though, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I literally have tattoos that involve it.
Right.
And then Helena says, unless we can rent the whole ship. Yeah, that'll be different. If we could rent the whole ship, then that'll be a different situation.
That'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. But I don't know if that's gonna ever happen.
Yeah. I wonder what that would cost.
Yeah, and she also said, Teshi, it is impossible to scare Matt.
Yeah, he was worried about scaring you with his fursuit head, so he chose to come in here with just his voice.
No, I don't get scared.
Anybody else have questions? It's too bad old Special Ed didn't stick around because he had all kinds of questions to be asking, and I'm not going back all that far to go look for that. But he did have some pretty reasonable questions. Trying to remember. It was something about sound design affecting the authenticity of your investigation, and I think he was kind of alluding to it, tainting your evidence because of the sound design.
No, so this is what I do for anytime there's evidence that happens, like audio wise, I get rid of the sound design. I literally put that break into it just so you hear it clearly. It's a pet peeve of mine when I watch someone else's videos and there's still ambient sound going on when there's a sound related thing that happens. So I completely get rid of the sound whenever it happens. And then when it's something visual, I add sound design to visual things that happen. But when it comes to sound specific, it's completely unedited audio. Or sorry, sometimes I do enhance the audio, but it's completely no sound design happening when it comes to the actual EVP, DVP, or something thrown or whatever it is audio wise. It'll be shown in the film or in the episode without ambience in it.
Yeah, and that goes back to the entertainment value that you were talking about earlier. Like, there's a reason why you use sound the way you do, and yes, you might be building up or sensationalizing the moment, right? But you're not sensationalizing the evidence. Yeah. You're just building up this tension or whatever. Yeah, and then
tension. The evidence itself is not tampered with at all, except for probably some audio enhancing. When I say enhancing, I mean turning it up so you hear it better and stuff like that, or adjusting EQ so you hear less background noise and stuff like that. So that's the thing that's being messed with, just so you hear things better sometimes. It has nothing to do with making it fake, though. It's actually what happens. And I show the original audio, what it sounds like, before I go to the enhanced version, so you get both versions.
Gotcha. Booberry329 is asking, again with the military buddies, have any of them ever come on an investigation with you or expressed interest in that?
I took so before I was in the military, There were like coolies, which are like the ones that are already signed up for the military, about to go into to boot camp and everything. I took them on a place called Lake Elsinore Naval Academy. I had to really dig in my brain for a second. So it was the Lake Elsinore Naval Academy. Technically, you're not allowed in there, but we snuck in. And this is the thing about California. There's a lot of buildings here that are for some reason really guarded and everything, even though they do nothing with them. It's just an abandoned building. They literally don't do anything. And so that kind of annoys me. I feel like they should either be trying to fix it up or make it a historical society or something. But no, in California, they just leave these buildings here and then still for some reason guard them. I have no idea why. Actually, I kind of understand if it comes to graffiti and everything. But other than that, like, why don't they do something with the buildings? And so I did bring some of them to that, and it wasn't a real investigation though. It was just more of them to try and experience it, because I don't like bringing new people, like super new, because then they contaminate a lot, because they're like whispering and being joking around too much. This is what I was talking about when it came to the seriousness part of the investigating. That's why I left my own team, Paranormal Extreme Crew, to Soul Seekers, because I wanted to be with someone that was just as serious about it as I was. And now everyone in my team is the same thing, same level-minded people that are thinking the same thing. They're doing it for the real work and not scream and make jokes 24/7, messing around and stuff like that. That's when it gets annoying.
Or jump out and be like boo at your friends or whatever.
I think that's okay sometimes, but like, don't overdo it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I've done that before.
One of my favorite things to do is scare the shit out of people. I'll be driving in the car with a passenger and then like just dead quiet and just be like, rah, like grab their leg and just scare the shit out of them. I have to refrain from doing that when I'm doing stuff like that, you know.
Yeah, I actually did at the Monroe house. I was like, I need to go to the restroom really bad. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity of going upstairs because I'm already going to interrupt their investigation. So I was like, I'm going to scare them. So I sneak up there. I saw a trash can. I was like, I threw the trash can. I just waited them to come to me. Because they're like, what was that? They start coming out and everything. And right when they get close to the trash can, I just jump out. I was like, boo! Got them really good. It scared them all. Yeah, that was funny.
Crow of Judas is in the house. Matt Benton is my hero. Mine too. Steph Cuervo Queen is asking, have you been to any reported haunted sites overseas while in the service?
No. Everywhere I've been to has been in America so far. I want to investigate other locations outside this country, of course. And down the line, we're going to lead to that for sure. Like, there's also, there's not as many places out there in Finland like that you can easily get access to. But Melinda says if you have a show or some, I guess, documentary filmmaker, maybe we can investigate some places in Finland now. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I hate the K2 meter, Crow.
We are running out of questions, guys. Feel free to ask questions. You can ask him if he likes mayonnaise on hot dogs if you want. You can ask him literally anything right now. Here we go. We got one from Steph again. What is the most known haunted military site? That's a good question. Do you know the answer?
Probably Gettysburg.
Yeah. Is that still an active military place, Gettysburg?
Oh, not active, no. But that's where a lot of, like, the bloodiest battle in U.S. history.
Right. Have you been there to do an investigation?
No, but I'm going to Gettysburg for this Paracon event. So
right.
My first time in Gettysburg. Yeah. But yeah, I've always wanted to investigate some like battlefields, because it's also connecting with them because I'm in the military. So there's a little bit more understanding too. So I'm seeing if there's, I could maybe talk to them one-on-one. I feel like Gettysburg is a lot of residual though. Also, it's not all like intelligent. I think it's mostly residual. So it'll be cool to capture an apparition just walking by in its uniform, or there's this one very good video out there, by the way, that of an apparition. I think it was a residual apparition. It was pretty cool. I think it's legit. It looked pretty real to me. It was a bit older. This was captured like years ago, and it's in Gettysburg. Basically, there's a raw video out there. It's very long. It's a lot longer. Them just sitting in their car, looking at this, like one of the cannons and stuff like that, with their headlights and their vehicle, and then they just see this Civil War looking apparition, just go by, and then it just like dissipates and disappears. It is so cool.
I have an idea. You did mention that you were willing to share the trailer. Do you have that queued up?
I sent it to you.
Oh, you sent it to me?
Yep.
Well, all right. Let's
Head of the game. I'm just kidding. She said active military site. Nothing's coming to mind right now, to be honest. I don't know why.
see what I can do here.
I know there is some out there. It's just not coming to my mind right now.
Yeah, I've seen, some there was this video of this guy that was in a dorm or whatever, and his door moves, and he does seem legit scared, but I don't know where that was from. All right, what I'm gonna do, how am I gonna do this? I don't know. What did that do?
You want me to share it? I can.
That would be a bit easier. So if you want to share,
it'll be here.
Well, when we do it through StreamYard, the audio is shit. So let me go ahead and do it. Yeah, let me go ahead and do it.
I was gonna actually have you download the streamer. I have a 720p version.
Yeah, I can download lightning fast. Go ahead.
Okay.
You need an email address?
No, I'll just send you a link.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, and then while that's going on, y'all can think of questions to ask. Again, thanks.
Less quality wise when it comes, because 720p, so it'll be a little pixelated, but it will be way better sound.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and like I said, y'all can think of questions while we're watching that. And again, thanks to everybody for joining us here tonight on Into the Night. Really enjoying doing these interviews. Next week, we are purported to have Joe Vitale, provided everything goes well. I'm sure it will. He seems to be pretty open. Joe Vitale will be here talking about, I'm sure, the Hill House and other things that he's working on right now. And definitely looking forward to that. I'm also trying to get some other people that I know everybody wants to see. I do have someone brought to my attention they'd like to see a magician interviewed, and it just so happens that he's technically my cousin, but legally not my cousin, but we share blood. He was on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and he did a great job on that, and I might be able to talk him into coming out here. Did you send me that link, sir?
It's uploading. Okay, it's done.
Okay.
There's another question in there.
Yeah, from Booberry329. Matt, tell everybody how you met Helena.
Okay. One second. Let me send this real quick so I don't. I am horrible at like multitasking. My ADHD, I think, is the reason. Okay, copy. Anyone with link?
Helena, I would be honored to come and sit down with you on your podcast. And again, let's work out something where you can come on here as well, as I think what you do is really it's different than what I've seen other, because you do true crime and stuff like that. I think that's a really wonderful channel that you've got there, and it's your own way, and really you've just got a wonderful way about you.
Yeah, she stands out for sure. Her personality is what stands out the most when it comes to her stuff, and then her Hellbent channel, I think,
Yeah.
she has a future with that one for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be like her biggest. It's going to be huge. I feel like if she keeps at it, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me change something here. Cool. And we're gonna go ahead and get that going. All right. And I'm just gonna go ahead and
download and
Nope,
upload.
We're all ready. We're ready to go. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, already?
Yes, sir.
You downloaded straight to StreamYard already?
Oh yeah, dude. I'm badass at what I do, bro. Hold on. Let me get this.
That's quick. Okay, I'll answer the question after this, I guess.
Let me.
Oh, this audio is playing.
On this location, we have over a decade of evidence collecting on this house. And what we uncover is dark.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Mysterious.
Just record us going in.
And something I don't think any of us expected.
Oh, wow.
What? Nobody has ever got it on video in 11 years. Oh my god, why are you looking at me?
Yeah, wait.
Oh my god.
This place is truly dark, nasty, and evil.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Oh my god. What is this, your epic day?
Everything about what just happened was very, very disturbing.
What the hell?
Rolling? Yeah, I'm rolling.
Oh my god, this is awful.
Holy shit.
That is fantastic. That looks so good. That looks so good, man. That looks great.
Thank you. It was a little cropped in, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The lettering and stuff in the corners and stuff like that. Can't really
I
see
apologize. I had to do it quickly. But yeah, man, looks great. Wayne Dawson is asking, do you have any supernatural stories from your years in the military?
Only one. I have two questions answered, but so yeah, only
sure.
one. I had one at the. So basically, I was doing this little op. I was on a recon mission, and when I say recon mission, I mean like within Camp Pendleton, we're going against another unit of Marines, and so I was doing a recon mission and with my squad, and we went to this Mount Town, which is basically a training area for CQB stuff and all that. We went in there for the night for just spotting the area in the hills, see if we see any enemy. And it got the nighttime to where most of us were racked out and stuff like that. I had fire watch. Two of us were on fire watch at the time. And so then all of a sudden I'm just standing there looking out the window, just trying to be awake for like, I think it was an hour or two, just watching outside with my night vision goggles. And then and all of a sudden heard like something that sounded like a Native American chant. Like cries, and like it was weird, and then just went away. I just like look behind me, look at the person that was with me, Mazilia, and we're like, "What the fuck was that?" And then we're like, and then we couldn't explain that. It was very strange. That was my only paranormal experience in the paranormal. I mean, sorry, in the military.
Gotcha.
My words got mixed up there.
Yeah, and I guess the other question was, how did you and Helena meet? Isn't that the other question?
Yep, that was the other question. So we met first on the live stream, I forgot whose live stream it was, but we're just in talking about paranormal stuff and everything. And then I saw another live stream where she was feeling down one day, and I had a uncle that committed suicide, and so every single time I see someone that's very depressed or down, I feel like I want to talk to them, at least try and talk to them. So something like that, hopefully, just maybe save someone's life if
Right.
anyone's ever thinking about. I didn't know her well, so I didn't know what she was thinking about, and so just was trying. As I messaged her to see if she was doing okay, if she needs to talk to anyone, I'm here. She didn't really talk to me that first time, and then 2 days later, I think she did another live stream, and then I mentioned it again, messaged her again, saying if she, seeing if she was okay. And then this time she was a lot more open and started talking about it and everything. And then we just kept talking and talking and talking. And then I just was like, oh my gosh, I really love this girl. Like, I really like this girl. Like, it was like, she was like turning into my dream girl. Like, I never found someone like with so much in common with me, same morals, same into the same things. Like it felt like platonic in a way. And so then I was like, I really want to ask this girl out because she is so attractive that a guy's got to swoop her up very quickly. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's usually what happens with very pretty women. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to shoot my shot. I know it's early. She at the time had a breakup. I know it's early, but I know she's going to get taken by someone else. So so I shot my shot. She was hesitant in the beginning because obviously she just got out of a breakup. And then, but she seemed to like me back a little bit. So then we started talking more and more. And then it came to the time where I asked her out when we went to the Monroe house. Oh yeah. So another story with that, she was going to come to the Monroe house to film a music video and also be a part of the investigation for the next film. But Joe and Crow had an idea for like a music video shoot and everything for the Evil Unearthed song. And that was the first reason why we had her come. But then I was like, you could also be a part of the documentary too. And so so she came out to visit, and it was actually because of the fans help with that, because it was so like last minute that it was hard to have the funds for that. So the fans actually paid for her trip out there, and that was really cool of her. And I mean, of them, I mean, sometimes I mix up my words, sorry. That was really cool of them. And so basically she came out. We were not a thing yet. We were just, talking and really liking each other. And I decided when it got closer to the date, at first I asked her out on a date. She's like, not right now. She's like a bit hesitant because she just got out of a relationship and everything. And then we were like about 6 days away from the actual date of meeting up. She finally agreed to going out on the date with me.
Nice.
After the Monroe house and everything. And sure enough, we got to the Monroe house. We started talking a lot. You probably see it a little bit in the film how like
chemistry building.
Yeah, chemistry building. At the very beginning, and that's in the Monroe house is where everything happened.
Awesome. Joseph Moore's in here saying hello to both of you, and hello, Joseph Moore. Teshi looks like he is back. I'm hoping with another question. This time, he's not worried about scaring you with his furry face. Welcome back in, Teshi.
Hi.
How you doing, brother? What's you got a question for us?
Well, yeah. What is your best recorded evidence that you would say you had?
For video or audio?
Either. What? I mean,
I would say the piece
video would be the best. So.
I would say the piece of debris that flipped over on its own was pretty damn cool. I still want an apparition. Haven't captured an apparition yet, and that just goes to show because you could easily fake them if you wanted to. That's just a statement on its own. I've been doing this for 13 years, and still have not captured a full body apparition, sadly.
Yeah,
but yeah,
not that common,
I have captured things moving on their own, and that was one of them, and I could not explain that one. That was really cool.
Yeah, very cool. Teshi, I love this look you've got, brother. I like your hair. Those sunglasses are I'm envious.
Ah, thanks.
Do you make Cheetos?
No.
No Cheetos. That's his brother.
That's his brother.
Do you got another question or?
No, I'm gonna head out.
Satisfied?
I just was waiting.
Yeah, I know. I saw you down there. I appreciate you coming on and asking another question. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it is not that difficult to do. You just click on that link right up there if you've got a question you want to ask Matt. I'll be happy to bring you on. Sky Talker, welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Dotson's here. Dotson. We got Dotson here. I say that every time I see him. Anybody else got some questions? Anybody got something for Matt to answer here in chat? Anybody and everybody?
Open book.
Yeah. Tell me about the skull.
Oh, so I'm a collector of oddities, and one of the oddities I've always wanted for like about 8 years now was a human skull. The only issue is that they're really fucking pricey, and also finding it from a good dealer, because I didn't want just any skull. I wanted because there's the medical ones that I say it is a medical one, but it's like the medical ones that are all bleached and everything, that are meant for classrooms and everything. I don't like that look. I want it to look aged and everything. I want it to I want to have like that cool, creepy vibe to it. So it took a while to figure out, because I've been searching on the internet. I couldn't find any like websites except for these very pricey ones. $2,400 is around the amount for a skull. And so then I started, you know what? I was like, I'm going to go look for collectors. So I went on Instagram and just typed in real human skull. And I was looking for someone that looked like they had a lot of them. This one guy had a lot of them. And I was like, so I messaged him. I was like, where are you, do you sell any skulls or anything? And he says, yes, he does. And he has I call him like a dealer, because he actually has like connections to other people to get these, obviously, because he has a lot of them. And so I asked, what price would you go for a skull, human skull, with pretty much all the teeth and a jaw, because that is implied when it comes to getting a skull, for the pricing. And he said he could do one for $1,700, which is the cheapest one I've heard, because everything else on website wise was like $2,400, $2,200. That was like the cheapest one I found on a website. And so I was like, okay. And then I described what kind of skull I wanted and how I wanted to look. And then he is like, he has one coming in. It's going to be a little bit, because it has to go through customs and all that. And so it came in, showed me it, and I was like, yeah, that looks perfect. And then he sent it to me. So after, yeah, I paid for it. He also gave me that stand too, which is pretty cool. It's a custom stand for skulls. Yeah,
nice. Yeah, that is definitely something. If I paid that much money for it, would be in a glass case, way away from anybody's fingers. But of course, you probably don't have a lot of people coming over that you don't know or trust, I'm sure. But
no,
for me, it's just
that comes here is my wife. That's it. I literally haven't had no guests here at all, so I only have my wife. That's it.
Yeah. Let's see here. I thought I saw somebody had another question.
Yeah, Helena was like, "Are you sure you want to be with me?" Yes, I'm sure. I married you.
Sky Talker, we won't judge your black eye. If you want to come on and ask a question, by all means. If not, you can always ask the question in the chat. No problem.
Open to any questions, guys.
Yeah. This is the fun part here. This is the fun part, I think. I mean,
she's kidding.
I know. Yeah, I enjoy the picking your brain about, because you're a filmmaker that does what I want to do. You're doing what I want to do, and I have many interests. You know, I'm not sure if my next documentary is going to. I mean, I've already committed. I'm going to do the Monroe House next, as far as for content for my channel, for the GhostQuest channel. I will do an investigation on the Monroe House. But I also enjoy. There's this band that I love called the Afghan Wigs. And their drummer I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he knows who I am. He wishes me happy birthday, and if he sees me post musical stuff or anything like that, he talks to me. He was the original drummer, and I'd like to go and interview him. Now he paints houses. That's his job now. But the Afghan Wigs have made a comeback, and they're kind of, they're touring right now, as a matter of fact. And he was not even, I don't even think, asked to be a part of it. And I kind of want to pick his brain about that. And there's also this guy named Bill Hickman, who sent a mass text across America asking, it said something along the lines of, God came into my body like a body my exact same size. And it was just this mass text that he sent to all kinds of people across America. And I stumbled across him on the Facebook marketplace. He was selling his van with his number spray painted on it, and these same scribblings, God came into my body like a body my exact same size. I'm like, who is this guy? And since I had that kind of organic exposure to him, I feel that's kind of an interesting segue into, I texted him and was like, hey, would you be interested in being the subject of a documentary? And he was like, yeah, sure. And he's like, God's telling me it's not going to do very well. And I'm just like, this is going to be fucking cool. Like, this is going to be interesting. I'm also not going to go there alone. So there's that. But yeah, as far as, you making documentaries, it's fun for me to listen to how you go about doing stuff and the steps that you're taking to get yourself to a distributor and things to expect, because I'm the only one of my circle of friends that's doing this kind of thing. So I don't have anybody close to get ideas from, or, bounce ideas off of in a way that I could get some feedback from you in such a way that would be helpful, So it's just, I'm very thankful to have stumbled across you.
Oh, yeah. For me, it was going through a sales agent. I hired a sales agent. They had connections to multiple distributors. And so then they got in contact with them. I think we had like 6 or 7 distributors to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And we weed them down to 3. And then we got interviewed by 3 of them. Not interviewed. We had like a discussion with them, like on the phone or a video call. And so we had to choose which one we thought was the best for what we wanted. And since I knew 2 people with Gravitas Ventures, Chad Kalick and Kendall, in the paranormal community, and so I was like, okay, they are actually getting paid, because I have heard from the guy that did the Scare Network, mm-hmm. which is Billy. His name's Billy, and he's been screwed over multiple times by other distributors and not paying him. So I was being very careful on who I chose. And so since I knew 2 people that were getting paid by them, I was like, maybe they're the best option to go for. And so that's why, and I haven't had any problems since. So yeah, so Gravitas was the best choice for right now, but I want to get through with A24 or something bigger.
Right.
If it doesn't happen, that's fine. I still got Gravitas. They already said that they'll do my future films also. So
that's awesome. Booberry329 is asking, Matt, I know you like Chad Kalick's work. Have you gotten a chance to meet him?
Yes, I have. I met him in 2016. Actually, there's a photo. Let me share that. There's a photo of me and him next to each other. And he's the only celebrity I've ever taken a photo with, because I've met other celebrities like Zach Bagans and all that, but I just didn't care, because I'm not... I never looked up to that person or really any other individual in the paranormal, except for Chad Kalick and Ryan Biddle, the only 2 I've ever looked up to. Oh, and Justin Brown, which is my friend of mine. Justin Brown is, in my opinion, the best investigator out there. But those are the only 3 people I've ever looked up to in the paranormal. So I got a photo with Chad Kalick, and yeah, so that was like the only time I've ever taken a photo, because I've met other celebrities before and never cared about photos.
Yeah. I've known who Chad is for a while. It wasn't somebody whose name necessarily stuck with me unless I saw it again. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this guy's work. But what was it? Sir No Face? Wasn't that?
Yeah, Sir No Face. American Ghost Hunter is my favorite one from him.
Yeah.
American Ghost Hunter is the one that got me really interested in his style. I really liked his style because what I dislike about what's on TV and everything, I'm not a fan of reenactments. I'm not a fan of the whole cookie cutter sound effect, Halloween sound effects. It's so bad. It's cringe to me.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of stuff on social media is like. Sorry, not social media, on the TV shows are like. And so there's only very few that were actually edited uniquely, which was Dakota Layden, and that was about that. The only ones that I think did very good editing, but still have different styles than me was Dakota Layden and Ghost Adventures. They're the only two that had good editing styles. But I'm not a fan of reenactments, and Ghost Adventures is filled with that.
Yeah,
I hate it. It really takes me out of the documentary feel.
Yeah,
but
he also did one called was it 72 minutes, or is it 71 minutes, something like that?
I think it was 74 minutes.
Okay,
and yeah, that was a good one too. It's kind of similar. I'm not a celebrity, babe. She's like my favorite celebrity. I'm thinking. What was I saying?
74 minutes.
Oh yeah, 74 minutes. Like I don't think it's one of his best ones though, to be honest. I think it was good. It's just that it's not his best one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of it I feel like debunked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you run into that. I think no matter what it is when it comes to something paranormal, there's always that critical thinker. I mean, is there a way that this can be debunked? And maybe you think of things that they couldn't think of in the time. That's why I said earlier, just because you couldn't debunk it at the time doesn't mean it can't be debunked. And that whole idea of debunking the rocking chair, that came way later after the documentary was released. I mean, we're talking years, right? Years. Yeah.
About 2 years, yeah.
And then to go and share that on your channel and say, look, we figured this out. That really, again, I think that speaks volumes about your character, that you are still going to remain transparent even years later. If you find out something isn't as legit as you thought it was, you're not afraid to go out there and say, well, made a mistake, and a lot of people won't even they won't touch it. They won't go back, and they just let it be. They just let it kind of go unspoken afterwards. So definitely tip off my hat to you for that.
Thank you.
I
want to share my screen.
Yeah.
Quick. Okay. So let me know when it's sharing. Okay, so this is my photo with Chad Kalick. This is back in 2016. I wanted to share this little thing right here. It says, during 2016, I met my idol, Chad Kalick, my favorite paranormal documentarian. He's an award-winning paranormal documentarian for his film American Ghost Hunter. He told me he liked my editing for a trailer I made back then, and he said I had potential. Now, fast forward to the present day, you're now looking at 2 award-winning paranormal documentarians in this photo. I am following in his footsteps in my own artistic style. Only 2 people I have looked up to in the paranormal field, and that was Chad Kalick and Justin Brown. Thank you to those 2 guys for lighting that spark in my. Sorry, it's hard to read without my glasses. 2 guys for lighting that spark in me, and inspiring me to be a better investigator and filmmaker. It's true though. It's really cool. And so, this is 2016 to 2022 is when I got my first awards, and it was a crazy moment. I even recorded that moment when I told my mom. She was crying.
And what were those awards for? Specifically?
A lot more than I expected, to be honest. Here, I'll stop sharing. So It was a lot more than I expected because. So I was trying to just get 1 or 2 awards. That's it. So I overdid it with the film festivals. I went to so many film festivals just because I was trying to win an award. I just wanted to be a award-winning documentarian. It was my dream. And then because I did so many, I didn't expect it to win 24 awards.
24?
24.
My
awards.
Gosh. My gosh.
I would have never spent that much money on film festivals if I knew I was going to win that many. But I didn't. I guess I didn't have the self-confidence in myself to think I was going to win that many. But I won for best director, best indie film, best documentary, full feature documentary, best editor, best best editing is how they worded it, and best sound design, best. I got one voiceover one, so I was like, that was surprising.
Nice.
And yeah, I think that was.
Well, there's something about your voice. I mentioned this to you before because I was in your stream one day and you were putting together a voiceover, and I was reading what you were going to be saying, and I made the comment about, now if I were to read that, it would be cheesy. It wouldn't be as powerful as the way that you read it, and when you read it, it doesn't sound cheesy, which can be very hard, very difficult to do, to not sound cheesy, to sound, just ridiculous. And I'm glad that you got an award for that, because it's backing up my claim there. I think the way that you go about your voicing, there is this seriousness to it, this drama to your voice, but it's not overly done, and that is a hard thing to accomplish.
My wife would disagree, but yeah. I think it's because people that know me very well, they think it's funny. But when it comes to strangers, I think it does decent to strangers.
Sure.
But for someone that knows me, I think that because I am over dramatizing it a little bit when it comes to my voiceovers, because I try to keep you engaged and keep it I keep that creep factor also. Mm-hmm. And so I think it works well in the editing. I think it does. If I did it by itself, it sounds a little cheesy, I feel like, but with my sound design and everything, I think it sounds better.
Yeah. Wayne Dawson is asking, what are your thoughts on all the toxicity that the debunking community gets?
It depends on the debunker, because the toxicity in debunking is only the few guys, the ones that are making it seem like they're fake when they have no evidence. That's a problem. That's when it becomes toxic, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Because you're saying someone's fake and you have no evidence. That's not good. You need, because I've already been on the other side of this thing. Like this one older debunker. At this time, there's like only a couple, like a few. There was not that many out there. Mm-hmm. It was only The Shape, Crow of Judas, and what's his name? And Rick's Debunks. So Rick's Debunks was the one that tried to debunk me, and basically, literally, I'm not kidding you, like an hour after he released his video, I went live and showed him the raw footage, and so I was like, and then he took his videos down. So that's why I say always keep your raw footage to back yourself up. So, and basically, he was calling me out for things with no evidence. That was what Rick Debunks was doing. He was doing assumptions, and that's when it gets toxic. Is when you start giving assumptions to things and saying it starts saying those things, and then you're trying to downgrade somebody's credibility over your opinions. And people go really hard on someone else's opinion for some reason. It's like a weird human thing. People just like latch on, like, oh, I agree, and stuff like that. So then I made that live stream. It took him a little bit to take it down. I didn't tell him to. It's just I I think he just decided to because I made good points. So he took it down like I think a week later, and then he never did video on me again. And it sounds like a certain angry debunker I won't name. Oh my god, that guy's not a debunker, he's just an idiot.
Yeah,
I'll call him out, Angry Cajun.
Okay, yeah, he pops up in my feed now because I've been watching Side Eyed Guy, and I've been watching The Shape and Beardo and Crow, and I haven't really given him a shot yet. But I don't know anything about him, to be honest with you. So he's one of those that's, I mean, not.
He says he worked at Area 51.
Okay.
he's crazy. He's very stupid and has like, this technology that he's not allowed to talk about to this certain year and stuff like that. It's so stupid. And then he also completely discredits everything he says. Joe released a video on him, literally not even saying a word about him, and just used his own words against him the entire time. So he's like, if he says these crazy things like this, if you have an editor, you're fake. If you have what was it? If you add sound design or any music to your videos, you're fake. And then he does the same shit. And then he shows a piece of footage that obviously looks very fake of just someone walking by and trying to play it off as a ghost. And so I don't know. You just watch Joe's video on that. It's hilarious. He doesn't even need to say a word. He literally just basically just discredits himself with his own words. So yeah, don't. He's not a debunker in my opinion. He's just an idiot. Angry
Strong
Cajun.
words. Fair enough. All right. Anybody else have any questions? I think we're about to wrap up. We've been going on for almost 3 hours and 15 minutes here, and I know Matt has to get busy editing. If
I'll take a little break though, but I'll probably be editing.
Yeah. Anybody got any questions for Matt? And if not, we're gonna wrap it up. I can't thank you enough, Matt, for coming on and doing this with me, and I hope that I helped the viewers get a better idea of what it's like to be Matt Benton.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Nah, I think you are truly an interesting worker of the field for sure, and I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see this Evil Unearthed, and again, I'm going to try to make it, but I can't make any guarantees. The Gettysburg Warrens Paracon, September 27th through the 29th, where Matt will be on a panel on stage discussing his documentary and sharing that trailer that he shared with everybody here tonight. Looks like everyone is saying goodbye, so we will say goodbye. Matt, thanks again for coming in, and I'd like to have you back sometime.
Awesome. Yeah. I want to just say, like Helena says, join Matt's channel membership to access the editing streams. Yes, I edit all my videos on my for my channel members, and even the lowest tier. You guys can watch it that way if you guys want to. I will be going for only members tonight because I'm releasing. It's more of the information that I don't want public at the moment. So, if you guys are interested in watching the entire editing process, that's the way to go. If you guys are interested in filmmaking or just paranormal in general.
Right on. I will definitely swing by and say hello. I believe I heard that Crow is live right now, and if somebody wants to share Crow's stream and pin it to the top, they're more than welcome to do so. But yeah, man, again, thank you so much for spending the evening with me, and thank you all hanging out with us here on Into the Night. I'm Jimmy Mitchell, and this is Matt Benton saying good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Have a nice, very good night. And then I guess morning for some other people in the country, other different countries. Thank you.